Miller, you made a decision yet? You sure your dad isn't hauling me in for an interrogation? I swear on my life, he's not. Damien insisted. Fine. All right. Great. I'll tell my dad. He's going to be thrilled you're coming, Damien said, pulling out his phone to text his father. Leo pointed to his bedroom door. If that's everything, I'm going back to sleep. Yeah, go ahead, Damien nodded. Once back in his room, Leo texted with Julianne for a bit, debating where they should go for dinner that night. In the middle of the conversation, he stopped replying. Julianne didn't even have to guess. She knew he'd fallen asleep. It was a regular occurrence for him to ghost a conversation at night by dozing off. She was used to it. More importantly, she was the exact same way. It was one of the many things they had in common. She scrolled through Yelp for a few more minutes before her own eyes grew heavy, and soon enough, she was asleep too. After their nap, they still had a marathon of 3 back-to-back major specific lectures to get through. Fully rested, Leo arrived at the classroom early to snag good seats, only to find Julianne had beaten him to it. She had her 2 essential writing tools with her, a tablet and a split ergonomic keyboard. Having gotten used to the peculiar layout, she could now clock in at 2,000 words an hour when she was in the zone. On a day with writer's block, though, a single chapter could still take her 2 or 3 hours. Getting an early start today? Leo asked, sliding into the seat next to her. Yep, I had a dream that gave me a new idea, so I wanted to get it down while the inspiration is still fresh, Julianne said, her fingers never ceasing their dance across the keys. Besides, we're going out for dinner tonight, right? The more I write now, the less I'll have to rush later. Good point, Leo nodded. He, on the other hand, had never been one for writing ahead. Back in his old life, if he wanted to go out, he'd just blow off his deadline. If he was out of excuses, he'd try to write while on the go and inevitably fail to finish. Before the lecture officially began, Julianne had already typed out 1,000 words, a quarter of her daily goal. As the professor droned on, Julianne leaned over and whispered, "Want to get hot pot tonight?" "Absolutely," Leo nodded. "I was just thinking about hot pot. It's been way too long." This was the perfect boyfriend response, a skill he'd learned directly from her. It affirmed her decision while making his agreement feel genuine, not just placating. Talk about maxing out your emotional value stats. The pre-romance Leo would have just grunted, "Sure." Hearing his enthusiastic reply, a beautiful smile spread across Julianne's face. "Then it's a happy decision." "Deal," Leo said, meeting her eyes with a nod. "A very happy decision." A moment later, Julianne asked, "So where should we go?" "That new trendy place, River's Catch." Leo shook his head. "Nah, let's skip River's Catch. Their broth is pretty generic, and it's a total ripoff." Julianne scrolled through her phone. "You got any better recommendations, then?" Leo thought for a moment. "Let's just find some authentic Sichuan-style place. They're usually better." Julianne arched an eyebrow. "What? Are you worried I'm going to go broke buying you dinner?" Leo just smiled, deflecting. "Your royalties from Storyforge don't hit until next month. Better to save a little, right? I told you not to worry about that. I can still afford to treat you to a nice meal." I know, Leo teased. "You're Jules, the secret heiress." "Oh, shut up," she said, giving him a light shove. "You're the one who pays every time we eat together. I've barely touched my living expenses. I think that qualifies me for the heiress title. Thank you very much." "All right, enough chatter. Let's listen to the lecture." Okay, Julianne agreed, giving his thigh a playful pat. The sudden contact made Leo jump. He shot her a look, still messing around. Julianne just stuck her tongue out and gave him a mischievous grin. The bell rang, signaling the long break between the second and third lectures. The professor pulled a stool up to the side of the podium to rest. Leo walked up to the stage. "Professor, could I say a few words?" "President Miller, of course." The professor's face lit up with a warm, accommodating smile. He immediately offered Leo the wireless amplifier he used for class. "Need the mic?" Every professor in the School of Business and Management knew that the freshman class president, Leo Miller, was the son of the university's biggest benefactor. Their own academic advisor, Mr. Chase, had seen his career take off like a rocket after getting on Leo's good side. No one was stupid enough to antagonize the campus's crown prince. "No, thanks, Professor. I'm good." Leo tapped the podium to get everyone's attention. "Hey, everyone, can I have your attention for a minute? I just have one thing to announce." The noisy classroom fell silent instantly, all eyes fixing on him. The freshman choir competition is this Sunday night, so I'll need everyone to spare some time this Thursday and Friday evening for rehearsal in the music room at the Student Activity Center. Same time as usual. He paused. "Any objections?" The class responded in unison, "No. If you have a scheduling conflict and need to be excused, please let me know now." Silence. All right. If there are no issues, then I expect everyone to be there on time. We'll start at 7 sharp. The sooner we start, the sooner we finish. Again, the class replied in a single voice, got it. From the moment Leo started speaking to the moment he stepped down, it had taken exactly 1 minute. The entire Finance.I class was completely in sync with him. The professor watched, stunned. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he'd never have believed a university class could be this united. This young heir, it seemed, actually had some genuine leadership skills. With that thought, the professor's gaze toward Leo became tinged with a newfound respect. Serafina approached him, looking grateful. Thanks for helping with the announcement. Leo waved it off. Don't mention it. It's for the good of the class. We're all in this together. Serafina smiled. Still, you have a lot of pull with them now. They all really listen to you. Leo scratched his head, feigning modesty. Really? I hadn't even noticed, huh? After their last lecture, Leo and Julianne sat in an empty classroom and picked out a hot pot restaurant before packing up their things. It reminded Leo of his previous life in college, huddling with his roommates to find the best value place to eat before heading out. Back then, the concept of online group deals and foodie influencers wasn't as rampant. You found good restaurants through word of mouth or by reading reviews on forums. Nowadays, nobody trusted the over-the-top sponsored posts on TikTok. They were all just paid advertisements. You'd be trying to scroll for fun, and the same promotional video for the same restaurant would haunt your feed like a ghost. It was ridiculous. Leo and Julianne settled on an old-school hot pot joint with a solid reputation, but a mid-tier rating on Yelp. In Leo's experience, these kinds of places were usually hidden gems, and his experience proved right. When they arrived, there was already a line. All the large tables were taken. Leo got a number for a 2-person table, and they sat in the waiting area, sipping tea. The restaurant's decor had an authentic, old-school Sichuan market vibe. Not the faux vintage look of newer places, but genuinely old. You could tell from the creaky wooden chairs in the waiting area and the ceramic teapot, which had a glossy patina from years of use. They got lucky. It wasn't long before a young couple left, and a server called their number over a small microphone. The small table could easily fit 4. It had a tabletop made of wood and ceramic tiles, which, like the teapot outside, was polished to a high shine from years of handling. It was old but impeccably clean, not at all grimy. The online coupons didn't offer much of a discount compared to the in-store menu, so they just ordered directly. They chose a split pot, one side spicy, the other mushroom broth. Julianne ordered a mountain of meat, while Leo only picked a few vegetable dishes. What? Is the great Leo Miller trying to save me a few bucks? Julianne teased, her eyes sparkling with mischief. After all that menu browsing, you're only getting greens? Leo smiled. You ordered enough meat for an army. Any more, and it'd be too much. I'm just adding some balance. Julianne stared into his eyes. You're sure you're not trying to save my money? Positive, Leo said with a laugh. You're my girlfriend. Why would I be so formal with you? Right? Oomph. I guess that's true. Let's eat what we have first. We can always order more if we're still hungry. Ordering too much is wasteful, and wasting food is a crime, you know. All right. After they ordered, the waiter took their menu. The dishes arrived quickly, with the broth coming last. The mushroom side was a simple, clear soup, but the spicy side was a different beast entirely. It contained several large blocks of deep red tallow, piled high with powdered spices, visible green and red Sichuan peppercorns, and whole chilies. Just looking at the base made your mouth water. A staff member added a savory house broth to the pot and cranked the flame to high. Like a curious kitten, Julianne used a clean pair of chopsticks to poke at one of the solid blocks of tallow. Isn't this going to be insanely spicy? She whispered. The second they put this pot on the table, I knew we came to the right place, Leo said, inhaling the rich aroma of the spices. This kind of old-school hot pot is way better than the watered-down spicy broths at those chain restaurants. Resting her chin in her hands, Julianne blinked her beautiful eyes at him. Do you come here often? The question caught Leo off guard. Come here often? Not a chance. A decent hot pot meal cost over $100. In his past life, he could rarely afford it as a student. After he started working, just scraping by was exhausting enough. There was no extra money for luxuries like hot pot. He remembered taking his father out for a nice hot pot meal in their hometown once, a rare treat. The bill came to 200 or 300 yuan, and his father had argued with him about the expense. After that, he never took his father for hot pot again. Since graduating, it felt like he hadn't had a single person to share a good meal with. Not really, Leo said, deflecting. I just know my food. He watched the mushroom broth come to a boil, picked up a slice of fatty beef, and swished it around. We work so hard, we struggle to make money. In the end, what's it all for? If not to eat a good, hearty meal. Leo placed the perfectly cooked slice of beef in Julianne's bowl. Here, try it. Is it really cooked? Of course it is. Don't you trust me? Thin sliced beef and tripe are best this way, just a quick cook. Any longer, and it gets tough. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Julianne blew on the steaming slice of beef and popped it in her mouth. After chewing for a second, her eyes lit up. That's delicious. There's an even better way to eat it. Wait here. I'll go make you my signature dipping sauce. With that, Leo stood up and pretended to head for the sauce station. In reality, he made a detour to the front counter and discreetly slipped the cashier a $100 bill. Later tonight, just take the bill out of this, he told the young woman at the register. If my girlfriend comes up to pay, just tell her I've already taken care of it. The cashier nodded and took the money. You got it. Oh, one more thing, Leo added. Do you guys have any special house drinks? We do. We just started making fresh squeezed lemonade. We serve it in these cute little bear-shaped bottles. Are you getting one for your girlfriend? The cashier asked, holding up a half-empty bottle from her desk as an example. Perfect, Leo said, making a subtle gesture with his fingers. When I give you the signal, bring one over. And when you do, make sure you say this. No problem. After leaving the counter, Leo quickly assembled 2 bowls of dipping sauce at the station and returned to his seat. What took you so long? Julianne asked, looking up as he hurried back. She hadn't touched her chopsticks while he was gone, waiting for him. You wouldn't believe the crowd at the sauce station. I almost got squeezed out of there, Leo said, handing her the bowl with his secret sauce blend. Just then, the spicy side of the pot came to a rolling boil. Leo grabbed the large strainer ladle. Meat is meant to be eaten in big mouthfuls, he declared, scooping up the entire plate of fatty beef and plunging it into the fiery broth. The steaming, bubbling pot instantly cooked the meat to an appetizing color. Leo transferred all the cooked meat into Julianne's bowl, filling her small dipping bowl to the brim. That's enough, Julianne protested as he kept piling it on. She took her chopsticks and moved half of the meat back into his bowl. You eat too. Don't put it all in my bowl. Just eat it. There's plenty more. Are you worried we'll run out? Leo said, amused by her gesture. Come on, eat up. I'll just cook another batch. Julianne smiled, a little embarrassed. Excuse me, but I'm the one treating you to dinner tonight. Doesn't matter. It's a boyfriend's sacred duty to cook for his girlfriend, Leo declared, grabbing another huge helping of meat with the ladle. A quick swirl in the boiling hot pot, and the slices of meat quickly turned a perfect, appetizing shade. Julianne picked up a piece, blew on it gently, and said, I've figured you out. You're getting way too good at saying all the things I love to hear. Leo chuckled. Well, I had a good teacher, didn't I? I certainly didn't teach you that. Julianne pouted. Who knows where you learned it from? Now eat your food. Hold on, it's still hot, she said, blowing on the steaming beef roll again before taking a delicate bite. Why are you taking such small bites? Who taught you that? Leo asked as he fished out the second batch of cooked beef. He put half in his own bowl and the other half in hers. You gotta eat meat in big mouthfuls to really enjoy it, he said. To demonstrate, he coated a large clump of meat in his dipping sauce and stuffed it into his mouth in one go. The feeling was pure satisfaction. Ew, you're so crude, Julianne said with disgust. Is this how Damien got so messed up? Did you teach him this? Leo chewed, swallowed, and said, What do you mean, messed up by me? I never taught him any of this. Julianne shot back. Then who did he learn it from? He even tried to teach Serafina to eat like a barbarian. She's been corrupted too. Hearing this, Leo suddenly lost his confidence. Hey, don't ask me. Go ask them. You're feeling guilty. I'm not. Just eat your food, you talk too much. Fine. No need to get so defensive, Julianne muttered with a pout, lowering her head to continue eating. After finishing the meat in her bowl, Julianne raised her beer mug, which was filled with soda. Come on, let's have a toast. Leo lifted his glass, smiling. You're drinking soda with the bravado of someone taking shots. Julianne glanced at the bubbling Sprite in her cup. Let's just pretend it's hard liquor. Cheers to our very own Jules, soon-to-be best-selling author. From your lips to God's ears. Clink. The 2 glasses met with a crisp sound. Leo subtly raised a hand to the waitress standing nearby, who immediately understood. Julianne tilted her head back and downed half the glass in one go. She let out a small burp and had just set her glass down when an adorable bear-shaped bottle appeared before her. The waitress placed the freshly squeezed lemonade in front of Julianne, her face beaming. The restaurant wishes you the best of luck on hitting 10,000 in royalties and becoming a truly great author. Julianne covered her mouth in surprise and turned to look at Leo. She didn't say a word, but he just smiled back at her. Julianne picked up the drink overjoyed, and said to the waitress, "Thank you so much." "You're welcome. The restaurant will also be sending over a complimentary heart-shaped fried rice shortly. We hope you both enjoy your meal," the waitress said with another smile before busying herself elsewhere. Julianne turned to Leo. "Was that your doing too?" He shook his head. "The heart-shaped fried rice?" "Nope, not me. So this one is?" Julianne asked, cradling the little bear bottle like a treasure. Leo nodded. "That one, I admit I arranged." She held the drink, looking it over. "When did you talk to them? How'd I not notice at all?" "I'm telepathic," Leo deadpanned, placing his fingertips on his temples. "I communicated with them using my mind." "You're ridiculous." Julianne burst out laughing. "You're so childish, using such a lame excuse." Leo, now swishing some tripe in the pot, said, "All right, fine. You guess. When did I talk to the waitress?" Without a second's thought, Julianne said, "It was definitely when you went to get the dipping sauces." "That was fast. Do I even need to guess?" "That was the only time you were out of my sight. A brain isn't even required to figure that out." "Okay, you got me." Leo placed the perfectly cooked tripe in her bowl. "Here, try this. The texture of my cooked tripe is first class." "Is it really cooked?" Julianne eyed the slightly curled tripe, hesitant to try it. After all, Leo had only dunked it in the pot for about 10 seconds, even less time than the beef rolls. Leo nodded confidently. "Of course it's cooked. Would I poison you?" Julianne coated the tripe in sauce and popped it into her mouth. "Good, right? It's crunchy. The texture is really unique. You've never had tripe before?" "Nope," she said, shaking her head. "I never order this when I get hot pot. This is my first time." "What about sliced kidney?" "Never had that, either." "How have you never eaten all these delicious things?" "Well, I didn't usually have the money to eat out at places like this," she admitted. Her words made Leo pause. Julianne's expression was neutral, but he detected a faint, heart-wrenching vulnerability in her tone that struck a strange chord within him. Leo waved his hand grandly. "Eat. You have to eat your fill today." His sudden intensity caught her off guard. She scratched her head. "Wait a minute. Aren't I supposed to be treating you? Why does it feel like you're the one treating me now?" "Don't ask, just eat." "Huh." They devoured the entire table of food. They were too full for the complimentary fried rice, so to avoid wasting it, Leo had the staff pack it up to go. Julianne didn't have the heart to drink the cute bear-shaped lemonade. She snapped a picture for her social media, then tucked it safely into her bag. "Excuse me, check for this table, please." "The check?" "Right away." The waiter nodded, and a moment later, walked over with a receipt and over 200 yuan in change, which he handed to Leo. Julianne watched the transaction, completely bewildered. The waiter handed the receipt to Leo. "Here's your bill and your change, sir." "Okay, thanks." The meal for two came out to 260 yuan, which wasn't too bad considering how much meat they'd ordered. Leo took the money and stuffed it in his wallet. Julianne tapped him on the shoulder, planting her hands on her hips and demanding, "Weren't I supposed to be treating you? Why did you sneakily pay the bill again?" Leo waved a hand dismissively. "Come on. There's no way I'm letting you pay when you're out with me. It's a boyfriend's God-given duty to pay for his girlfriend." "That's a separate issue. We had a deal," she insisted, hands still on her hips. "We agreed today was my treat. Are you trying to look down on me by grabbing the check?" Leo purposefully looked away. "Your royalties haven't come in this month. You can treat me after you get paid." "No, this meal had to be on me." Julian lunged for his phone, trying to Venmo him the money, but he dodged her. "All right, stop messing around. Be good. Let's go," he said, slipping his phone into his pocket. He grabbed the takeout container with the fried rice and pulled Julianne out of the restaurant. "Give me your phone." "Why?" "So you can accept the money I'm sending you." "Don't be ridiculous. It was just one meal." "No, I said it was my treat. When you get your royalties next month, you can treat me then. I promise I won't fight you for the check." "You." "Humph." Julian grunted in frustration and then landed a playful punch on his back. "If you ever do this again, secretly paying when you promised you wouldn't, I'll give you the silent treatment for 10 days. She had wanted to say, "I'll break up with you," but the words wouldn't come out. "Whoa, isn't that a little extreme?" "Then beg me. I'm begging you not to ignore me for 10 days. Then I'll ignore you for 5 days. Isn't 5 days still too long? Then beg me again. Please, please don't ignore me for 5 days. Then, one day, not even for a day." Leo grabbed her wrist and pulled her into his arms. "You're not allowed to ignore me. Not even for a minute." Held in his embrace, Julianne turned her head away, refusing to look at him. "It's what you get for always grabbing the check. You have to be punished." "So I'm wrong for spending money on you?" "Yes. Next time I treat you." "No, not next time. Starting tomorrow, I'm paying for all our meals in the cafeteria." You're getting a great deal with me paying for dinner, Leo said, gently patting her head. You're usually such a smart girl. How come your brain short-circuits at times like this? Julianne retorted. A relationship isn't a business deal. There's no such thing as a guaranteed profit. Leo immediately seized on her words. Exactly. You said it yourself. A relationship isn't business. So why are we haggling over one meal? That's different. How is it different? Julianne was caught in his logical loop. It took her a few seconds to process. A relationship isn't a one-way street. If you're the only one spending money, then MMPH. Her little mouth had been running nonstop. Leo, feeling he was losing the battle, decided on a tactical retreat and simply kissed her. That was one way to shut her up. When he pulled back, Julianne's face was bright red. She stared at him, stunned and speechless. All right, let's drop it. Come on, let's go for a walk, Leo said, not giving her a chance to bring up the topic of the bill again. He took her hand and led her down the street. After they had walked a little way, Julianne muttered under her breath, "Humph, you got away with it again." Yeah. Leo chuckled, but didn't reply. Julianne studied his face. How did you get so cunning? Learned it from you. Lies. I never taught you any of that. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. All right. You didn't. Oh, now you're just patronizing me. I'm not. You are. Julianne balled her fist and gave his shoulder a soft punch. He didn't fight back, just pretended to be in agony. Ouch. I think you dislocated my shoulder. Now you'll have to take care of me for the rest of my life. You're so dramatic. They bickered playfully as they walked, with no destination in mind, talking about nothing and everything. A cold breeze swept away the clouds, and a clear, beautiful moonbeam fell upon them. Their shadows stretched out, little by little, until under the moon's watch, they merged into one. Winter was coming. Yo, you're still up? Back in the dorm, Leo saw Damien boiling water. Noticing the unopened package of instant ramen on the desk, Leo immediately asked, "Are you seriously making ramen right now?" "Yep," Damien nodded. "Want some?" Leo shook his head. "No thanks, I just got back from Hot Pot." Damien glanced at the multi-million-dollar watch on Leo's wrist. "You were eating Hot Pot until 10 o'clock. "No, went for a walk with my girlfriend after dinner. We wandered around for an hour. No wonder you smell so. Interesting." "I do, yeah. It's a weird mix of flowers and beef tallow." Leo sniffed his clothes. It was true. He reeked of Hot Pot, but underneath it was the faint, clean scent of white camellia, Julianne's signature perfume. He used to notice it every time he got close to her, but now that they'd been together for a while, he'd grown accustomed to it. Damien tore open the ramen's plastic wrap. "We ate early. I'm hungry now. Just need a late-night snack." Leo narrowed his eyes, ruthlessly calling his bluff. "I think you're just craving junk food." "I am not," Damien said, avoiding Leo's gaze. "All right, stop. Don't eat that garbage. I brought back some fried rice." Leo placed the bag he was carrying on the table. "This isn't your leftovers, is it? What do you take me for? Would I give you my leftovers?" Leo opened the takeout box. "See? The heart-shaped egg on top is completely untouched. It's definitely not been eaten." Damien's eyes lit up as he looked at the fried rice. "It actually looks pretty good. Just heat it up in a microwave. It's got meat and eggs. Way better than that ramen," Leo said, closing the lid and pushing the box towards Damien. "You're really giving it to me?" Damien cradled the box as if it were a priceless treasure, a goofy grin spreading across his face. "Miller, you're the best." Leo looked at his expression and felt a headache coming on. "Dude, have some self-respect." With the fried rice secured, Damien abandoned the ramen and squatted in front of the microwave, waiting impatiently. Ding! The second it was done, Damien eagerly pulled it out, scooped up a spoonful, and put it in his mouth. Delicious. After just one bite, Damien's eyes shone with the light of hope. The poor kid was starving. Anyone who didn't know better would think he'd never had a proper meal in his life, which, come to think of it, might not be far from the truth. A single bowl of fried rice had completely won over the Sterling family's heir. If Donovan Sterling saw this, he'd probably have a stroke. Leo covered his face, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. The day after Julianne's book was featured on StoryForge, the revenue was a little lower than the first day, but that was because Leo's $100 gift had skewed the initial numbers. Her actual readership was still growing, so overall, the trend was positive. Seeing these results, Julianne felt a wave of relief, and she threw herself into her writing with even more gusto. So, with no classes that afternoon, she dragged Leo to the library with her. She wrote while Leo sat across from her, reading novels and playing games on his phone, occasionally looking up to watch her work with intense focus. Watching her now, Leo was reminded of his former self. Back then, he'd had the same passion for writing. On his best days, he could churn out 30,000 words. But more words didn't mean more money. His first novel, 200,000 words long, didn't even earn enough to meet the platform's $50 minimum for a payout. Leo still remembered the exact amount that book had earned, $32.54. And 30 of those dollars had been petty gifts from his best friends. Of course, he'd had no one to teach him back then. He didn't understand how to write for the market. He was just doing it for fun, trying to fulfill a childhood dream of being a writer. The money didn't seem to matter. Besides, he was interning at a company at the time and had a small, stable income. Then the internship ended, and he left the company. He didn't want to go back to his hometown. He'd studied so hard precisely to escape that place. But in the big city, he couldn't find any decent, well-paying jobs, only menial labor. For a humanities major who didn't want to become a teacher, there weren't many career paths. Holed up in his rented room, unable to find work, he turned his attention back to writing for money. With his background in literature, he took some time to research the current web novel market. Soon, his second novel was born. This time, it wasn't a passion project, but a commercial one, a tropey, power fantasy, lit RPG. To be honest, he didn't enjoy writing that kind of story, but it brought him a handsome income. On its first day of promotion, it earned him $150. Over 3 months, it grossed more than $20,000. That was the book that set him on the path to becoming a professional writer. But the story started strong and then fizzled out. He hit a few controversial plot points, got flamed by readers, and the numbers tanked. He ended up abandoning it. After that, it was as if he were cursed. No matter what he wrote, it would start with a bang and then inexplicably crash and burn. Authors who ripped off his ideas would become famous, while he remained a struggling writer, barely making enough to live on. Sometimes, late at night, he would wonder if he was just some unlucky side character in another author's book, an NPC whose sole purpose was to be a stepping stone for the real protagonist, destined never to become a great writer himself. He couldn't make it in the male-dominated genres, so he switched to romance, but he was still a failure. After so many flops, he got used to it. He started slacking, writing trash just for the platform's minimum guarantee payments, living day to day in a daze. Eventually, he almost forgot why he'd wanted to become a professional writer in the first place. It was laughable, really. He'd lost his original dream, and the money he'd earned in its place wasn't even enough to survive in a shared apartment in the city. So, he gave up on that path entirely and even began to hate writing. But now, it seemed he didn't hate it so much anymore. At the very least, he was willing to document the little moments of his life with Julianne. His appearance had given Julianne the courage to write, and her love for writing was rekindling his own passion. What are you thinking about? Why are you ignoring me? Julianne gently kicked him with the toe of her shoe. Leo snapped back to reality, looking at her. I was just thinking about something important. What's so important? I want to write a novel, too. A novel? Yeah, Leo nodded. I want to write one about us. About us. Hearing this, Julianne's interest was instantly piqued. She rested her chin in her hands. How would you write it? Starting from the day we met. Then, let's have a competition. Let's see whose book becomes more popular. No, Leo shook his head. I'm not going to publish this one online. Julianne was confused. Then, why write it? Does there have to be a reason to love writing? Leo smiled. I guess not. This story, he said softly, is just for you. Okay, Julianne said, her lips pressed together in a smile that lit up her whole face. Then you'll be my very own great writer. Leo froze for a second, taken aback by her words. He'd never expected her to say something like that. After a few seconds, he burst out laughing. Haha, I never thought I'd see the day someone called me a great writer. Julianne said, Do you know why I always want you by my side when I'm writing? Leo asked back why. Because, she replied, you're the leading man in my book. Is that some kind of cheesy pickup line? Get out of here. I'm making this deeply emotional confession, and you call it a cheesy pickup line. Julianne finished, kicking his shin with the inside of her foot. Leo just laughed, letting her kick him. It didn't hurt anyway. All right, get back to your novel. I can't write anymore. What? Writer's block? Yeah, a little, Julianne said, propping her chin on her hands and looking at him. Quick, give me some inspiration. Where are you stuck? Let me see. Leo moved his chair next to hers. Julianne turned her tablet towards him, pointing at the screen. The recent chapters have been too calm. There's no conflict. I feel like I'm going to lose the momentum from the feature. That's easy. Just have a disposable villain show up and stir some trouble. That's too cliché. Leo rubbed his chin. Then break their hearts. Give the readers a really tragic twist. Julianne pouted. You'll get me sent death threats from my readers. Let me think. Leo read her latest updates every day, so he knew the general direction of her plot. After a moment of thought, he said, "You haven't really shown off the male lead's business genius yet. You could do this." Leo leaned in close to her ear and whispered a plot idea. Julianne's eyes instantly lit up. "Hey, that's a great idea. Okay, I'll go with that." She reached out and patted Leo's head like he was a dog. "Lily, you're the best." Leo nodded confidently. "Of course. I'm a seasoned reader." "Wait a minute. Why does your tone sound like you're praising a dog?" "I have no idea what you're talking about." After Julianne finished her chapter for the day in the library, they went to the cafeteria for dinner. Because Leo had secretly paid the night before, Julianne insisted on swiping her meal card for everything, and Leo didn't stop her, mostly because he knew he couldn't. After eating, they went straight to the Student Activity Center. The place was getting more popular now. Students who were studying for grad school exams or just needed a quiet place to work would come to the reading rooms in the SAC when the library was full. Booking a room was simple now. You just had to submit a request on the campus app a day in advance. Occasionally, clubs or classes would register with the SGA to borrow a classroom. People were dropping notes into the suggestion box every day, mostly urging Leo to organize another event soon. Some even included detailed event proposals, and a few had some genuinely good ideas. The SGA had members on duty every day. The shifts came with free meal vouchers and SGA points, so plenty of students with free time were eager to sign up. The points could be redeemed for various things, a system Leo had come up with alongside his advisor, Mr. Chase. Watching Leo manage the SAC so effectively, Charles Miller was also very pleased. As Leo and Julianne walked into the SAC, the student at the front desk immediately stood up. "President, good evening." "Hey, the music room is already unlocked. You could go straight in." "Great, thanks." "Of course, happy to help." It was still early, so no one else was in the music room yet. They found a spot in the back and played on their phones. About 20 minutes later, Serafina and Damien walked in. Seeing the two of them hiding in the back, Serafina asked curiously, "How did you guys get here so early?" Julianne explained, "We came right over after dinner at the cafeteria." Serafina asked, "Were you two in the library all afternoon?" Julianne nodded. "Yeah, I was writing my novel, and he was keeping me company." "Oh, how are the stats on the novel today?" "A little better than yesterday." "That's great." Serafina smiled. "Keep it up. It's only going to get better." "Uh-huh." Encouraged, Julianne smiled back. Serafina turned to Damien. "You can sit down. I'm going to get the projector set up." Damien immediately asked, "Need any help?" "I got it." "All right then." After Serafina left, Damien sat down next to Leo. He leaned in and whispered, "Miller, where did you get that fried rice last night?" "Why are you asking?" Leo glanced at him. Damien scratched his head, a little embarrassed. "That fried rice you brought me last night was amazing. I ordered some from the cafeteria today, but it wasn't good. I was thinking of taking Serafina to try the one you had." Was it really that good?" "Seriously, it was delicious." Leo looked at him, not sure whether to laugh or cry. "Hold on, I'll send you the restaurant link." "Thanks, Miller. We're brothers, man. Don't mention it." Julianne, who was scrolling through videos on her phone, heard Leo's casual swearing and nudged him with her elbow. "Be more civilized. Stop with the foul language." Leo nodded obediently. "Yes, babe." Damien glanced from Leo to Julianne and thought to himself, "Does she train like a dog?" Just as he was thinking this, Serafina, who was standing at the front of the room, suddenly called out, "Babe, can you bring me my phone?" "You got it, babe. Coming right up," Damien replied, grabbing her phone from her bag and jogging over to her. Watching Damien's goofy eagerness, Leo thought to himself, "Does Serafina train him like a dog too?" By 6:55 p.m., everyone in the class had arrived. Leo did a quick roll call, then handed things over to Serafina. The song practice was tedious. To boost everyone's morale during a break, Leo made them an offer. "Everyone practice hard for these 2 nights. If we do well and win an award, I'll throw a victory party for everyone on the 4th floor of the SAC. Dinner's on me." The promise immediately ignited their enthusiasm. Leo thought to himself, these college students are pretty easy to motivate. Easier than elementary school kids. Of course, it wasn't an empty promise. He certainly had the money to treat the entire class, and after the success of the film festival, everyone trusted that he could throw a great party. With Leo's motivational speech, Serafina's choir practice went exceptionally smoothly. The 2 hours flew by. The next night was the same. After 2 days of intense training, their class's performance was nearly perfect. Now all that was left was to see how they'd do at the official competition on Sunday night. At 8:30 p.m. on Friday, the four of them left the SAC together and headed to the cafeteria for a late-night snack. Leo dropped a bombshell on them. I might have to skip the choir competition on Sunday night. Why? The three of them stared at him. I'm the SGA president now, Leo said. Julianne asked, confused. What does that have to do with you skipping? Are you dense? The choir competition is hosted by the SGA. Oh, I get it, Julianne said immediately. You have to be a judge, right? Nope, Leo shook his head. It's to avoid any appearance of bias. If I'm on stage and our class wins first place, people will definitely talk. Serafina immediately countered, but even if you're not on stage, if our class wins, people will still talk. You're our class president. Exactly. Damien nodded in agreement. Which is why, Leo explained, to ensure the fairness of the competition, we're holding it on the athletic field. We'll have professors from the music department as the judges, and then the audience will vote for the winner from among the top-rated performances. Me, Mr. Chase, and all the other SGA members will only be there to maintain order. We won't be involved in the scoring. This was Leo's plan. He was doing it to make the competition as fair and impartial as possible. When it came to judging things like this, what the audience thought was what truly mattered. Relying on just a few judges could easily lead to favoritism. Julianne tilted her head, looking at him. You came up with this too? Yeah, that's brilliant, Julianne said, reaching out to pat his head, but he dodged her. Don't pat my head. I'm going to do it anyway. Julianne used both hands to playfully ruffle his hair and squish his cheeks. Across the table, Damien and Serafina exchanged a look and both burst out laughing. As Damien was eating his snack, he got a text from his dad. After reading it, he looked up at Leo. Miller, my dad says he has something tomorrow afternoon. He's asking if we can move the dinner to the evening. Leo glanced at him and thought for a moment. Yeah, that's fine. Serafina. Damien looked at her. You're free tomorrow evening too, right? Yeah, I'm free all weekend. All right. I'll tell him we'll have dinner tomorrow night then. Damien typed out a reply to his father. Leo glanced at Julianne, who was on her phone beside him, and said to Damien, ask your dad if I could bring my girlfriend. Huh? Julianne, who had been scrolling through comments on her novel, looked up at Leo, completely bewildered. They're inviting you and Serafina to dinner. What will I be doing there? Leo smiled at her. I'll be nervous going alone. I'd feel better with you there. A storm of question marks appeared over Julianne's head. Serafina is not nervous. So what are you nervous about? Serafina is Serafina, and I am me. It's different. Damien interrupted them, looking up from his phone. My dad says it's fine. The more, the merrier. Wait, what? You actually asked him? Julianne waved her hands frantically. No, I'm not going. Come on, Jules, you should come, Serafina said, taking Julianne's hand. To be honest, I'm a little nervous too. It's the first time I'm meeting a boyfriend's parents. I feel a lot better with my best friend there. So, I'm your guy's emotional support animal? Julianne said, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Fine, I'll go with you. Damien immediately said, great, I'll drive tomorrow. The four of us can go in one car. Perfect, I'm in. Leo agreed instantly. Before he had a car, he'd always envied people who did. Now that he had one, he envied the passengers. Driving was tiring. Riding was comfortable. Plus, the back of Damien's SUV had reclining captain's chairs, perfect for gaming on the go. He'd experienced it once on the way to the pool. If he needed to travel frequently around the city, Leo would probably have asked Charles to arrange a private driver for him. After their snack, Leo walked Julianne back to her dorm. Then he and Damien headed back to theirs. On the way up, Damien asked him, Miller, New Year's is just over a month away. Do you think I should plan some kind of surprise for Serafina? New Year's, huh? Damien's question made Leo realize that it was already early winter. He glanced at his phone. It was less than 2 weeks until December. Winter seemed to come a little late in Ethelberg City. It wasn't very cold yet. A light jacket was enough for the evenings. Leo looked at the ad playing on the elevator screen and thought for a moment. For New Year's, it's not about how grand the gesture is, but who you spend it with. But I should still do something, right? That's true, Leo nodded. He tried to remember how Damien and Serafina celebrated New Year's in the novel. He couldn't quite recall. He thought Damien had bought out all the digital billboards in the city's central business district to declare his love for Serafina to the world. He was pretty sure that scene happened, but was it on New Year's? He couldn't remember clearly. Strange, he thought. I wrote the book. Why can't I remember the plot? Maybe it was because he'd written it so long ago. Leo didn't dwell on it. He half-jokingly said to Damien, Aren't you the idea man? You figure it out. Damien looked at Leo. Miller, you've changed. You used to give me ideas. Now you're telling me to think for myself. You're the one dating Serafina, not me. Leo shot back with a glare. I can't hold your hand forever. That's true. I'll think of something myself. Back in the dorm, Leo called dibs on the bathroom first, showered, and then went to his room for a video call with Julianne. She had drawn her bed curtains and was huddled under the covers, only her bright eyes visible in the video feed. They whispered to each other like a pair of conspirators for a while, until Leo felt drowsiness wash over him, and he quickly turned off the light. Why? Because if he didn't, the moment he dozed off, Julianne would sneakily take unflattering screenshots of him. That evil woman already had a whole collection of them on her phone. Why'd you turn off the light? Julianne whispered. To sleep. I'm tired, Leo said, burrowing into his blankets. A single room was great for everything except one thing. The light switch wasn't by the bed. Getting up to turn it off was fine in the summer, but in the winter it was freezing. You can sleep with the light on. I can't see your face when it's off. It's fine, you can still hear my voice. Who video calls just to hear someone's voice? Yawn, Leo yawned. I'm tired. You should sleep early too. Staying up late makes you lose your memory. It's fine, I'm not afraid. Staying up late makes you ugly. Going to sleep. Wait, how'd you change your mind so fast? Don't talk. You're disturbing my sleep. Wait, you. Sleep. All right. Neither of them spoke again, but the call was still connected. After about 10 seconds, the sound of snoring came from Leo's end. Julianne picked up her phone and looked at the screen. It was pitch black. He must have put his phone under the covers. This pig fell asleep in a second. She complained silently, then hung up the video call. Soon, she was asleep too. That night, she had a dream. She dreamt that her novel became a huge hit, and the male protagonist from the book actually ran out and confessed his love to her. Then Leo suddenly rushed in from out of nowhere and drop-kicked the character back into the book. The dream was so absurd that when she woke up, she didn't tell Leo about it. She slept until she woke up naturally. Julianne opened her eyes and checked the time. It was 7 in the morning. She got changed and went downstairs for a run. They had agreed to wake up at 6:30 a.m. on weekdays to run, and at 7 a.m. on weekends if there was nothing special planned. When she got downstairs, Leo was already on the track, warming up. Julianne walked up to him. You're pretty punctual. Of course. I went to bed so early last night. It would be wrong not to wake up early. Julianne's eyes narrowed, a wicked smile playing on her lips. Someone slept like a log last night. The snoring was epic. Seeing her expression, Leo felt a sense of dread. You didn't record it, did you? Of course I did. Delete it. Now. Run 6 miles this morning and I'll delete it. 6 miles? You might as well just kill me. An hour later, Leo was panting heavily. Phew. Can you? Delete it. Now. Phew. I was kidding. I didn't actually record anything. Ha. You are so dead. After their run, Leo and Julianne had breakfast together, then went back to their dorms to change into clean clothes before heading to the library with their laptops. The library wasn't very crowded in the morning, and they found a good spot. After setting up her laptop, Julianne began her work for the day. Leo also downloaded the long-neglected writing software and registered a new account. What should he name the book? He thought about it for a long time, but couldn't come up with anything. So he just created a new book with the number 1 as the title. It had been a while since he typed on a keyboard, but as soon as his fingers touched the keys, he felt a flood of inspiration. His hands flew across the keyboard, and in less than an hour, he had written 3,500 words. The effortless confidence of a veteran writer. How are you writing so fast? Julianne got up and walked over to him, curious. You're not just smashing the keyboard, are you? Of course not. Leo opened the first chapter he had written for her to see. Julianne scanned it carefully and said with surprise, You're actually writing for real. Leo asked, amused, Did you think I was faking it? Well, I guess not. Julianne praised. It's amazing how you can maintain a coherent plot while typing so fast. It's nothing. I don't know. You seem really experienced, Julianne said, staring at him suspiciously. Leo quickly waved his hands. It's because I've read a lot of novels. You know what they say, read 10,000 books and you'll write like a god. Really? Of course. All right. In one morning, Julianne finally finished her 2 chapters for the day. Leo had written 3 chapters, a total of 8,000 words. Yes, he had written 8,000 words in one morning, twice as much as Julianne. That was the power of a veteran writer. The content might not be groundbreaking, but the writing speed was unmatched. Julianne wanted to read the novel Leo was writing, but he refused. His reason was, I'll let you read it when it's finished. It's better to keep it a mystery until then. Julianne pouted, a little unhappy. How long is it going to take you to write? It might take a long time. How long is a long time? I don't know, but I'll let you see it when it's done. Oh, come on, Julianne whined, rubbing her head against his shoulder. Just let me see it now. This combo of cute tactics was too much for Leo to handle. All right, I'll show you. He reopened the writing software and placed it in front of her. But let's be clear, if you read it now, there'll be no surprise later. Hearing this, Julianne immediately stopped reaching for the mouse. After a few seconds of thought, she lowered her hand. Never mind, I won't look. You sure? Leo asked with a smile. Julianne shook her head. I'm not looking. Let's keep a little mystery. Okay, you said it. Don't blame me for not showing you. Leo closed the software and shut down his computer. They had lunch together in the cafeteria. Neither of them had anything to do in the afternoon, so Leo decided to check on the renovation progress of the shops in the Student Activity Center, and Julianne tagged along. The coffee shop was almost finished. A 5-foot-tall custom capybara mascot statue was already placed at the entrance. Leo had designed a mascot based on the little desk ornament from Julianne's old social media post, and it was now the coffee shop's logo. The salted fish the capybara was holding had been replaced with a coffee cup, making the placid-looking capybara look incredibly cute as it sipped its drink. Seeing the mascot, Julianne said in surprise, "This mascot. It looks just like my little figurine." Yep, the design was inspired by the one on your desk. I posted that picture so long ago. You still remember it? Of course I remember. It made a deep impression on me, Leo said, taking her hand. That was the first social media post I saw from you after I added you as a friend. Right, Julianne pouted and muttered, and I wonder who it was that saw my post and didn't even like it. Leo broke into a sweat. Wait, why do you remember something like that so clearly? Julianne sniffed. Is it a crime to have a good memory? Leo pressed on. You didn't post that specifically for me to see, did you? No, she shot back immediately. Leo gently nudged her with his arm. Someone had a lot of little tricks to get my attention back then. Julianne blushed. Stop being so full of yourself. Who was trying to get your attention? I already said no. Then why are you blushing? You're asking for a beating, aren't you? Julianne, at a loss for words, pinched his waist in frustration. I was wrong. I was just kidding. It wasn't funny, she said, her face still bright red. Leo really wanted to tease her again with, I thought it was funny, but he didn't dare say it out loud. Julianne's pinching technique was getting better and better, and it actually hurt, but his pride wouldn't let him cry out in pain. The coffee shop was the fastest to be renovated in the SAC. The convenience store and bookstore were only about halfway done. Even though the shops weren't open yet, many students were already looking forward to them. People would come to the SAC every day to ask, and there were discussions in group chats. While Leo and Julianne were standing in the coffee shop, they had already been approached by several students asking when it would open. President Miller, you're here. The floor monitor on duty at the SAC today was Chloe. A boy was trailing behind her, holding a stack of files. The moment he saw Leo, the boy's face lit up with a smile. President Miller, hello. Leo pointed at him, trying to remember. Tyler, you right? Yes. I'm surprised you still remember me. Yeah, you made an impression. Are you on duty today too? Tyler said, a little embarrassed. I want to learn more from Chloe, so I came along. Chloe praised Tyler to Leo. He's very hardworking. That's great, Leo said with a smile. My girlfriend and I are just looking around. You two go on with your work. All right. Oh, wait a minute, Leo called out to Chloe as she was about to leave. Has anyone booked the 4th floor for tomorrow night? No, there are no student bookings for the common areas for the next 2 days. Then can you book it for me? I need to borrow it. Sure, no problem. At 5 in the evening, Damien drove his car, bringing Serafina, Leo, and Julianne to the Sterling family estate. The Elysian Estates. This was the ancestral home of the Sterlings, where the head of the family had always resided. Every month, the family hosted a banquet here, not only to bring their own kin together, but also to invite business partners for dinner and deals. Because the Sterlings were an untouchable power in Ethelberg City, there was a rumor that only by being invited to a Sterling family banquet could one truly be considered part of the city's upper echelon. This wasn't an exaggeration. An invitation proved that you had earned the Sterling family's favor. Even an ordinary person who received one was destined for a bright future. Elysian Estates occupied an entire mountain. From the foot of the mountain to the summit, everything as far as the eye could see belonged to the Sterlings. Pavilions, carved beams, and painted rafters. Every structure was as grand and solemn as an ancient palace. When Leo had written the novel, he had just been exaggerating to build up the protagonist's high-status identity. Now, seeing his bullshit become reality, he was genuinely stunned. It wasn't just Leo. Julianne was also captivated by the scenery along the way. She stared out the window with wide, beautiful eyes. This place, which looked like a tourist resort, was just someone's private residence? Having grown up in the low-income housing projects, she had only ever seen such scenes in novels and on TV. For the poor, even seeing sunlight was a luxury, yet the rich needed a car just to get from their house to the front gate. Was this really still Ethelberg City? Why was it so completely different from the Ethelberg she knew? Looking at everything around her, Julianne fell into a state of self-doubt. She stole a glance at Damien and Serafina. Their faces showed no particular expression. Only Leo had a hint of surprise in his eyes. Leo sensed her gaze and turned to meet it. Your family's place isn't this extravagant, is it? She asked. Not quite. Leo shook his head. My house is just a small courtyard. No car required to get around. Julianne touched her forehead. I can't do this. Being your girlfriend is so much pressure. What's the pressure? He asked, confused. You're so rich, and I'm just a poor girl. Don't be silly, Leo said, giving her a gentle tap on the forehead. You're so interesting. My parents will definitely like you. Julianne waved her hand. All right, you don't have to comfort me. Your family is so powerful and wealthy. Do you really think they'll approve of a poor girl like me? Leo didn't answer her directly. Instead, he asked, why are you suddenly being so pessimistic? I'm just suddenly hit by the huge gap between the rich and the poor, she said half-jokingly. My defenses are kind of breaking down. It's okay. Don't let it get to you. Leo put his arm around her shoulder and smiled. Marry me, and you'll be rich too. No, Julianne shook her head. Then your parents will think I'm only with you for your family's money. Oh, you're overthinking things, Leo said. Damien turned around and said to the cuddling couple behind him, can you two wait until we're inside to be all lovey-dovey? Leo retorted, you talk too much. Damien fell silent and deliberately took Serafina's hand, leading her forward. But after just a few steps, Serafina shyly let go and lowered her head. It was her first time meeting the family, and she was extremely nervous and reserved. Leo, holding Julianne's hand, followed close behind into the Sterling mansion. A plaque above the entrance reads Sterling Residence in 3 powerful, sweeping characters. It had been written by Damien's grandfather, the old patriarch of the Sterling family, who had long since passed away, another character who existed only in backstory and dialogue. In the glow of the setting sun, the 3 characters shone with a golden light. Julianne took a deep look at them before following Leo inside. Holding Leo's warm hand, she felt a profound sense of security. After seeing so much of this opulent world with Leo, Julianne had indeed begun to question her reality. But the more she saw, the more clearly she understood what she truly wanted. Welcome home, young master. With a synchronized greeting, the 4 of them were ushered into the grand hall by a throng of servants. A vigorous middle-aged man walked up to Damien, bowed respectfully, and said, young master has brought friends home today. This was the Sterling family's butler, Arthur. Arthur was highly competent and had done his homework. He knew all their names. Miss Rose, Miss Hale, young Master Miller, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Arthur. Please feel free to call on me for anything you need. Thank you, they replied in unison. Damien asked, where's my father? The master will be home shortly. How many people are coming to the dinner tonight? Just one of the master's friends. The rest are all your own family, young master. My second uncle's family is coming too? Yes. Oh, Damien nodded, a hint of displeasure in his tone. This was to be expected. In the book, the old Sterling patriarch had 3 sons. The eldest, Donovan Sterling, had inherited his father's perfect business acumen and, as the firstborn, was the natural heir. The second son, Marcus Sterling, was meticulous and capable, but also deeply scheming and obsessed with the position of heir. He constantly opposed Donovan, though he always ended up losing. His son was also a constant rival to Damien, which was why Damien disliked their family so much. The third son's name was Alistair Sterling. His personality was more like his mother's, gentle, scholarly, and uninterested in the family's power struggles. He rarely even attended family banquets outside of major holidays. Arthur continued, and this time, your third uncle will also be here, young master. Uncle Alistair is coming, Damien said, surprised. What did my dad say to him to get him come? I believe he mentioned your relationship with Miss Rose, Arthur said, smiling warmly at Serafina. Serafina blushed and lowered her head. Damien, darling, you're back. A slightly languid, middle-aged woman's voice drifted down from the second floor. The 4 of them, seated in the living room, turned towards the sound. A graceful and elegant woman descended the stairs. Damien's features bore a striking resemblance to hers. Leo guessed correctly that this was Damien's mother, Moira Sterling. Oh, and you brought friends. Moira's eyes fell on Julianne beside Serafina, and then on Leo next to Julianne. She smiled warmly. You must be the roommate he's told me about. Leo hadn't expected Moira to address him first. He quickly stood up, a little flustered, and offered a polite smile. Hello, Mrs. Sterling. My name is Leo Miller. Hello, hello. Moira nodded. What a handsome young man. You're too kind, ma'am. Moira's gaze shifted from Leo to Serafina. Serafina quickly stood up and extended her hand. Mrs. Sterling, hello. I am Serafina Rose. Ah, Serafina, Moira said, taking her hand and pulling her close. Do you remember me? I used to hold you when you were just a baby. Such a tiny little thing. And in a flash, you've grown into a beautiful young woman. Moira gently touched Serafina's cheek, her eyes filled with affection. Serafina hesitated, unsure how to respond. She had been an infant. How could she remember who had held her? But out of politeness to her future mother-in-law, she nodded against her conscience. Moira continued. Your mother and I were just talking about setting you two up. It's such a coincidence that you found each other on your own. Maybe. Maybe it's fate. Yes, you two are truly meant to be. Moira's floodgates opened, and she chatted endlessly. Serafina was starting to feel overwhelmed and shot a glance at Julianne. Julianne caught her signal and immediately stood up to rescue her friend. Mrs. Sterling, you shouldn't be standing. Please come sit and talk. We can't possibly sit down until you do. Ha ha ha. All right. Moira chuckled and nodded. She said to Serafina, Look at me. I got so carried away talking that I forgot to let you sit. Quick, sit. You sit too, Mrs. Sterling, Serafina said. All right, let's all sit. Moira sat down next to Serafina, effectively squeezing Damien off the sofa. He ended up sitting alone on a single armchair to the side. Moira then looked at Julianne and smiled. And you are? Julianne quickly introduced herself. Ma'am, I'm a friend of Serafina's. My name is Julianne Hale. Moira extended a hand to her. I'm so sorry, dear. I was so busy talking to Serafina that I completely forgot about you. Please don't say that, Mrs. Sterling. It was my fault for not being more forward. I saw how happy you and Serafina were catching up. I didn't want to interrupt by not introducing myself sooner. Nonsense, Moira said, her smile widening. Here, have some fruit and snacks to tide you over. Dinner won't be for a while. Julianne's emotionally intelligent response had put Moira in a wonderful mood. The look she gave Julianne was now even more benevolent than the one she'd given Serafina. Honestly, when it came to social graces, Julianne had a natural talent that even Leo had to admire. That's my girl. They had only been chatting in the living room for a few minutes when Donovan Sterling walked in from outside. Donovan Sterling, a middle-aged alpha billionaire who hadn't gained weight or lost his hair. He wore a bespoke suit, and his mere presence exuded an aura of power. Tall and broad, he sported a well-groomed beard and a slick-back hairstyle, his eyes sharp and somewhat fierce. The moment Donovan entered the room, Damien reflexively shot to his feet and respectfully called out, Father, see? Even the most formidable alpha billionaire is afraid of his parents. Damien was no exception. Leo and the others quickly stood up as well, chorusing, Hello, Mr. Sterling. Donovan nodded, a faint smile appearing on his otherwise stern face. Good, you're all here. His gaze then fell on Leo. You must be Leo Miller, my son's roommate. Yes, sir. Come with me. Huh. Leo's eyes widened, and he shot a panicked look at Damien and Julianne. Damien immediately stepped forward. Father, is there something you can't discuss with Miller here in the living room? Donovan glared at his son. Quiet. This doesn't concern you. Humbled by his father's sharp tone, Damien immediately deflated. TSK. Seeing this, Leo's eyes widened, and he clicked his tongue silently. He thought to himself, this is it. Donovan Sterling is definitely calling me in for an interrogation. I knew it. I never should have come. Leo tugged on Julianne's sleeve, hoping she could help him say something. But Julianne couldn't read Donovan's intentions either, and after seeing Damien get shut down, she didn't dare speak up rashly. After a moment's thought, Julianne asked softly, Mr. Sterling, I'm his girlfriend. May I accompany him? Donovan's expression softened slightly as he looked at their guest, but he still refused. I apologize, but I would like to speak with Leo alone. Oh, okay. Of course. Julianne gave Leo an apologetic look that said, I can't help you. Leo covered his face with his hand and gave a wry smile. He had no choice but to follow Donovan into his study. Once inside, Donovan pointed to a chair. Sit. Leo nodded. Okay. You too, sir. Donovan sat in the chair opposite Leo. They sat facing each other in silence. Leo felt incredibly awkward and didn't dare to look at him. keeping his head down and curling his toes into the floor. Don't be nervous, Donovan said. Let's just chat. Right, okay. You're the one who's been taking my son out all the time. Seeing that the interrogation had already begun, Leo decided to just come clean. Sir, I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to corrupt your son. He decided to go down this chaotic path all on his own. It's not my fault. I mean, I admit I might have some responsibility, but most of it is on him. Seriously, he muttered the last part under his breath. The chaotic path. Donovan looked at Leo, completely confused. What are you talking about? What? Seeing his reaction, Leo was just as confused. He asked, You invited me to dinner today and then pulled me into your study alone. Wasn't it to hold me accountable for something? Accountable for what? Donovan suddenly stood up. Leo thought he was about to get hit and jumped to his feet as well. He had just raised his hands, about to say, Sir, calm down, when in the next second, Donovan grabbed his outstretched hand and said with a broad smile, Young man, I wanted to thank you. What? What? Seeing the huge grin on Donovan's face, Leo was completely dumbfounded. He asked quietly, Sir, what do you mean? For a long time, my son and I, we haven't seen eye to eye. Donovan Sterling began, his voice losing its usual boardroom edge and taking on a rare, softer tone. I've always been a demanding man. Under that pressure, Damien's personality, it became withdrawn. He was unwilling to connect with people, which meant he grew up with almost no real friends. He never learned the nuances of just being with people. Donovan sighed, a sound Leo never thought he'd hear from the commercial titan. Don't be fooled by the fact that he's in his 20s. I've taught him everything I can about business, but in his heart, he's still just a kid. He does these impulsive, baffling things. Before he came to the Royal Academy to fulfill his grandfather's last wish, I was genuinely worried. With his personality and emotional intelligence, I was afraid someone would take advantage of him. His gaze sharpened, locking onto Leo with an unexpected sincerity. But then he met a good roommate. He met you. Over these last few months, I've seen him change in ways I can't ignore. The tension between us started to ease after that phone call you made. So, I wanted to thank you, truly and sincerely. Thank you for being my son's friend. Leo stared at the man, momentarily speechless. This was the cold, ruthless, legendary titan of Ethelberg City from his own novel, the man who never smiled. He felt different from the character he'd written. Softer. Maybe, Leo thought, it's because besides being a business magnate, he has a more important role, Damien's father. That thought made it all click into place. Donovan's words painted a picture of a different Damien, one that explained the bizarre, socially awkward guy Leo had first met. He suddenly understood. Damien wasn't just abstract. He literally didn't know how to communicate normally. It was strange. This world felt like a buggy program he had slapped together. But to keep itself running, it generated its own logic, patching over the inconsistencies to make them seem plausible. It was a sobering reminder that he needed to be more careful with his writing in the future. Mr. Sterling, you don't have to thank me, Leo said with a genuine smile. I'm happy to be friends with Damien. Hanging out with him has taught me a lot, too. The honor is his, Donovan said, extending his hand. Leo immediately stood and shook it. The grip was firm, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. You will always be a friend to the Sterling family, Donovan stated, his voice now layered with its familiar authority. It's my honor, Leo replied. When they walked out of the room, both men were smiling. The three waiting outside, Damien, Serafina, and Julianne, looked on with a mixture of shock and confusion. They were dying to know what had been discussed, but none of them dared to ask. Julianne, unable to contain her curiosity, pulled out her phone and shot Leo a quick text, then looked up and wiggled her eyebrows suggestively. Leo knew exactly what she was asking. He took her hand and announced to the room, We're just going to take a walk around the grounds. You guys keep chatting. Shall I have Arthur accompany you? Donovan offered. No, that's okay, Leo said, waving his hand dismissively. We'll just wander around ourselves. Very well. Leo pulled Julianne out of the house, leaving a bewildered Damien and Serafina staring after them. Donovan gestured to the sofa in front of them. Please, make yourselves comfortable. Sit. You too, Mr. Sterling, Serafina said politely. Damien and Serafina sat on the sofa to the left, while Donovan and Moira sat in the center. How has your father been lately? Donovan asked Serafina. He's doing well, thank you. You've been going fishing now and then. Excellent. I'll have to give him a call and join him sometime. While the four inside made small talk, Leo and Julianne found themselves getting lost in the vast, manicured grounds of Elysian Estates. They eventually settled on a bench beside a small pond. So, Julianne prompted, bumping his shoulder. Leo recounted his conversation with Donovan Sterling. When he finished, Julianne's eyes were wide. Wow, I never would have thought someone like Donovan Sterling had a soft side. Yeah, me neither. Then why couldn't he just talk to his son like that from the beginning? Leo looked thoughtfully at the fat, colorful koi gliding through the water. Maybe because, once a rift forms, it can't be fixed with just a few words. Julianne seemed to understand. She nodded and fell silent, picking up a fallen twig and dipping the end into the water. The koi swarmed it, their mouths opening and closing as they tried to bite the tip. The sight of the dumb, chubby fish made her burst out laughing. "Do you think," she asked, a mischievous glint in her eye, "that these koi would be any good in a soup?" Leo chuckled. "I don't know about that, but I have a feeling if you tried, you'd get us kicked out of here for good." "I'm just kidding." Ha ha ha. They sat for a while, teasing the fish. A wave of drowsiness washed over Leo, and he leaned over, resting his head on Julianne's lap. It was soft and smelled faintly of her perfume, way more comfortable than any pillow. "Don't even bother trying to understand. You wouldn't get it." Julianne ran her fingers through his hair. "Dinner's almost ready. Don't actually fall asleep." "I won't, don't worry," he mumbled, his eyes fluttering closed. Just as he was drifting off, the roar of an engine shattered the peace. The deafening hum made his eardrums ache. "Damn it," Leo grumbled, pushing himself up. Just when I was getting sleepy, he looked toward the main gate. A garish green supercar had screeched to a halt. Two men, one old and one young, climbed out. The older man leaned against the passenger door. "You brat, can't you drive any slower?" The younger man scoffed. "Then don't ride with me next time, Dad. You nag me the entire way. It's so annoying. You're lucky I don't beat you, and you have the nerve to complain?" The man slapped his son on the back of the head. "Don't you get it? Damien is with the eldest daughter of the Rose family now. With their backing, your uncle's position is only going to get stronger." From their conversation, Leo immediately knew who they were. Damien's uncle, Marcus Sterling, and his cousin, Caleb. Caleb pouted. "That's not my fault." The old man was biased. "He set up the engagement for Damien and Serafina, not for your son. If you want to blame someone, blame him for not loving us enough." Not satisfied, he added another jab. "We came from the same father, so why is the treatment so different?" "Shut up." The word struck a nerve. Marcus glared at his son and raised his hand, delivering a sharp slap across his face. "You keep your mouth shut inside. If you say one more stupid thing, I'll kill you when we get home." "Humph," Caleb grunted defiantly. Their voices carried easily across the lawn. Leo and Julianne, still sitting by the pond, heard every word. They exchanged a knowing look. When Marcus and Caleb Sterling entered the house, Leo and Julianne followed close behind. The father-son duo, who had been shouting in the driveway, now wore placid smiles. The atmosphere in the living room, which had seemed warm and cheerful, was now thick with tension. Prompted by his father, Caleb would occasionally toss out sharp, pointed questions disguised as jokes, making everyone uncomfortable. In the past, Damien would have exploded into a shouting match with his cousin. But this new Damien was different. He had learned how to throw insults that were twice as sharp without using a single curse word. Watching his nephew's transformation, Marcus Sterling frowned. He sensed something was amiss. Leo and Julianne sat on the sidelines, silent observers. This was a family affair. They had no place in it. As the conversation stalled, another man walked in. He was a friend of Donovan's, also invited to the family dinner. Dressed in simple, unassuming clothes, he carried himself with the same quiet authority as Donovan Sterling. His arrival made the atmosphere even more delicate. He was Mr. Song, the head of the Song family, one of the four great families of Ethelberg City. Now, two of the four families were present as Donovan's guests, Serafina, Rose, and Mr. Song. Marcus Sterling's bravado visibly deflated. But that wasn't the biggest shock. The real blow came during dinner, when he learned that Leo, the quiet young man who had been watching the drama unfold, was the son of Charles Miller. Leo was Damien's best friend. Serafina was Damien's girlfriend. Mr. Song was Donovan's ally. Marcus realized with a start that Donovan had gathered his staunchest supporters for a reason, and that reason was likely aimed directly at him. He decided to stay quiet, not daring to make a move until he understood Donovan's game. Just then, Damien's third uncle finally arrived. The moment Alistair Sterling, cloaked in a simple black coat, stepped into the dining room, Marcus's heart sank. Alistair, who loathed family gatherings, was here. That could only mean one thing. Something big was about to happen. Though Alistair was the youngest of the three brothers, he looked the most ancient and worn. A stranger might have mistaken him for the eldest. Third brother, you're late, Donovan said with a smile. Come sit. Traffic, Alistair said curtly. His eyes landed on Serafina, and he studied her for a long moment. At Damien's prompting, Serafina stood and greeted him politely. Hello, Uncle Alistair. Hello. Alistair nodded and took his seat. The mood at the dinner table was undeniably strange. Even Leo, the author of this world, couldn't figure out what Donovan's objective was. The scene felt familiar, but he couldn't place it in his own story. It wasn't until the meal was nearly over that it all came crashing back. Donovan stood, raising his wine glass. Today is a Sterling family dinner, and we're surrounded by close friends and relatives. I have two announcements to make. The first concerns my son and this young lady from the Rose family. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. As for the second matter, it's about the distribution of my shares in the company. My father stated before he passed that if Damien and Serafina were to be engaged, the family business should be handed over to the younger generation. To prepare him for that responsibility, I intend to transfer half of my shares to. As Donovan spoke, Leo, who had been sipping a soda, froze, his eyes widening in realization. He remembered now. This scene was supposed to happen on New Year's Eve, the first time Damien brought Serafina home. On that night, under Donovan's immense pressure, Marcus was forced to agree to hand over half of his shares upon Damien's marriage. Because of him, the plot was accelerating again. Quick summary, Leo thought frantically. Grandfather Sterling left 30% of the company to Donovan, 20% to Marcus, and 10% to Alistair. Another 40% was split, with 20% held by the board of directors and the other 20% held in trust for Damien, to be transferred to him and Serafina as marital property upon their wedding. He had written it that way to give Damien a compelling reason to have to marry Serafina, without thinking through the details. No wonder the atmosphere has been so charged from the start, he realized. After Donovan finished, Mr. Song spoke up. The world belongs to the young now, and the market is following suit. I, for one, look forward to collaborating with the next generation. The message was clear. He was backing Donovan and Damien. A moment later, Alistair Sterling set down his chopsticks. He looked at Damien. When you and Serafina get married, your third uncle doesn't have much to give you. Take the 10% of the shares I hold. They're all yours. The unspoken condition hung in the air when they got married. The rest of the scene played out just as Leo had written it. Under this immense, coordinated pressure, Marcus Sterling reluctantly agreed to give up half of his own shares when Damien and Serafina wed. Leo caught the cold, dark look in Marcus's eyes and frowned. He couldn't remember the later plot points clearly, but he was certain of one thing. By the end of the story, Marcus had been forced to surrender all of his shares. Why couldn't he remember the details? Why? Why was it all so fuzzy? Leo lowered his head, rubbing his temples as his brow furrowed in frustration. Why was his memory getting worse? Why was the story he'd created becoming so blurry? Are you not feeling well? Julianne asked quietly. While everyone else was focused on Damien and Serafina, her attention was solely on him. No, I'm fine. Leo shook his head and forced a smile. Probably just didn't sleep well last night. You were up late playing games again, weren't you? She chided in a whisper. I told you go to bed early. Leo chuckled, dodging the question. As soon as the contentious dinner ended, Leo feigned a stomachache and dragged Julianne out of the house. He didn't know or care what happened after they left. Judging by the triumphant looks on Donovan and Damien's faces, it was obvious who the night's biggest winners were. Not long after they left, Marcus and Caleb Sterling stormed out, fuming. They cursed under their breath as they climbed into their car, the engine roaring to life before they sped away. Leo and Julianne found themselves back at the koi pond, sitting in the quiet twilight, watching the fish glide through the dark water. Why are you two young friends sitting out here? Alistair Sterling's voice broke the silence. Leo and Julianne turned to see him standing behind them. He had his black coat wrapped tightly around him, and his face, covered in a thick beard, seemed impossibly old for a man who was only in his late 30s. His brother, Donovan, was nearly 50. Leo remembered why Alistair looked so haggard, but he couldn't recall the specific details. Hello, Uncle Alistair, Leo said with a smile. Julianne echoed the greeting. Hi, Uncle Alistair. Hello, Alistair replied, his own smile faint. You're Damien's friends. Why aren't you inside? Because it's, Leo stammered. Julianne jumped in smoothly. It's cooler out here. Yeah, that's right. Leo nodded. Cooler. Ah, is that so? Alistair sat on a nearby chair. I agree. The breeze out here is much more comfortable. It's suffocating in that house. The pressure makes it hard to breathe. Leo decided to test the waters. You don't seem to be in a very good mood, sir. Did something happen? Oh, Alistair let out a long, slow breath, but didn't answer the question. He just shook his head and smiled faintly. It's nothing. Oh, seeing that he didn't want to talk, Leo wisely dropped the subject. They were so caught up in their own affairs tonight, they didn't take proper care of you two guests, Alistair said. On behalf of the Sterling family, I apologize. Julianne quickly waved her hands. Please don't say that, sir. The dinner was wonderful. We were both honored to be invited. Leo glanced at Julianne, a small, unseen smile playing on his lips. With her by his side, he didn't even have to worry about social graces. She handled everything perfectly. It was a huge relief. Alistair's lips twitched into a small smile. If there's another opportunity, I'd like to invite you back for a proper visit. Would that be all right? Of course, Julianne said. We'd be honored. Well, I should be going, Alistair said, gesturing toward the parking area. Do you need a ride? Julianne shook her head. No thank you, sir. We're going to wait for Damien and Serafina and head back to campus with them. All right then. Until next time. Until next time, they said in unison. After Alistair had gone, Julianne nudged Leo with her elbow. Did you feel that? There's this old, weary vibe coming from Damien's uncle. I'm not blind, Leo shot back. I can see that for myself. Julianne pondered for a moment. He's the youngest, but he has none of that energy. What? I don't know, Leo said. We can ask Damien later. As if on cue, Damien emerged from the house, looking for them. Hey, there you are, he called out, waving. Come on, let's head back to campus. After saying their final goodbyes to Donovan and Moira, Leo and Julianne climbed into Damien's car. It was a half-hour drive back to USC, giving them plenty of time to talk. Did you see the look on my uncles' and cousins' faces tonight? Damien said, his voice brimming with satisfaction. It was priceless. Ha ha ha. Don't celebrate too soon, Leo warned, pouring cold water on his mood. Your uncle is obsessed with the family fortune. After losing half his shares tonight, he's definitely going to make a move. You need to be careful. Let him try, Damien said, his smile vanishing. My dad wouldn't have made a move like that if he wasn't prepared for the fallout. I'm just worried. Leo's gaze shifted to Serafina in the passenger seat. That he won't come after your family. Damien's driving slowed. He glanced at Leo in the rearview mirror. Miller, what do you mean? Leo ran a hand through his hair, thinking hard. The only reason your dad's power play worked tonight was because of your engagement to Serafina and the 20% of shares your grandfather tied to it. So, you're saying they'll go after the Rose family? Damien finished. It's a possibility, Leo admitted. He was basing this on his own writing habits, but he couldn't be sure what would actually happen. He was discovering a strange pattern. The harder he tried to recall specific plot points, the fuzzier his memory became. Only occasionally would a useful fragment surface on its own. At Leo's words, Damien and Julianne both turned their attention to Serafina. She looked back at Leo, her expression tense. What? What do we do? I don't know what they'll do, Leo said with a helpless shrug. We'll just have to cross that bridge when we come to it. Damien nodded grimly. Thanks for the warning, Miller. I'll call my dad tonight and let him know. Speaking of which, Leo said, changing the subject to what had intrigued him most, why was your third uncle willing to give you all of his shares? My uncle. Damien hesitated for a few seconds. He never wanted to be involved in the family business. He just wants to live a quiet life. Did something happen to him? Leo pressed. My uncle wasn't always so defeated. He had a wife and daughter, but they died in a fire. He was left all alone. He went a little crazy for a few years, but then he got better. I don't really know the specifics. Damien shrugged, glancing back at Leo. I was just a kid when it happened, and no one in the family ever talks about it. If you hadn't asked, I would have almost forgotten myself. Julianne seized on the key point. But that doesn't really have anything to do with him supporting you tonight, does it? No, not really, Damien admitted after a moment's thought. My third uncle probably supports my dad and me simply because he can't stand my second uncle. I think, he's always disliked him. Marcus Sterling's face was a thundercloud the entire drive home. As the car slid to a stop in the driveway, Caleb announced, We're home. You think I don't know that? Marcus roared. Caleb, who had been simmering with his own resentment, finally snapped back. Why are you yelling at me? Go yell at your older brother if you've got the guts. You've always been second best, and you always will be. It's your own damn fault you can't beat Donovan Sterling. Crack. Marcus's hand lashed out, striking Caleb across the face before he could finish the sentence. Caleb's eyes blazed with fury. Go on, hit me again. Kill me. You'll still be second best. Shut your mouth. Marcus grabbed Caleb by the throat, slapping him again and again. Why can't you be useful, like Damien? Why are you such a worthless piece of trash? Caleb looked at his father with pure contempt, a trickle of blood leaking from the corner of his mouth. Marcus pointed a trembling finger at him. Don't you dare look at me like that. You call me worthless? Caleb's sneer deepened. The only thing you're good for is bullying me and Mom. You're the worthless one. I said shut up. Crack. Another slap echoed in the confines of the car. The next morning, Caleb arrived at school with a bruised face. He was a year younger than Damien, a senior at Ethelbert Preparatory Academy, the best high school in the city. And though it was a good school, he was an arrogant bully who terrorized his classmates. Caleb, what happened to your face? One of his lackeys asked. Who the hell asked you? Caleb kicked the boy's shin and dragged him by the hair into a blind spot in the classroom, away from the security cameras. Under Marcus's violent upbringing, Caleb had become just as cruel and volatile. He was a model student in front of his elders, but to his peers, he was a monster. No one at school dared to cross Caleb and his clique of rich kids. Even his own followers were subject to his violent outbursts when he was in a bad mood. I'm sorry, Caleb, I'm sorry. The rest of the class pretended not to see. Anyone who interfered would become the next target. Unseen, a girl in the corner quietly filmed the entire incident on her phone. On Saturday, the seniors at Ethelbert Prep had the afternoon off before returning for evening classes. Caleb and his friends, as they often did, skipped their last period math class to go hang out. The teachers were powerless against them. Their families were too rich and influential. Chloe, I can't help you this afternoon. I have to go pick up my sister, Tyler, you said, organizing a stack of papers. Chloe smiled at him. Oh, you have a sister? Over the past few weeks, she had come to see that Tyler was smart and capable. She was already thinking of grooming him to be a leader in the student events committee next year, so she was always kind to him. Yeah, Tyler said, grinning. She's a senior in high school. You know how it is, the workload is insane. They only get one afternoon off a week. I want to take her out for a good meal. That's sweet. Go have fun with her. Chloe opened the committee's ledger, filled out an entry, and counted out $100 in cash from a drawer. She handed it to him. Tyler looked confused. Chloe, what's this? Your wages, she said, pressing the money into his hand. President Miller said that from now on, any money the SGA earns will be used to pay student workers. You've been running around helping me with the choir competition all week. We can't have you working for free. Take this and treat your sister to something nice. Tyler stared at the cash, then back at Chloe, his eyes shining. Thank you, Chloe. You should be thanking President Miller, she said with a smile. If it weren't for his reforms, the SGA would still be a mess no one wanted to join. That's true, Tyler said earnestly. President Miller is amazing. Did I hear someone singing my praises? Leo's voice came from the doorway. Tyler and Chloe both turned. President, you're here, Chloe said, immediately standing. President Miller, sir, Tyler said respectfully. Julianne was at the library working on her novel, so Leo had come alone. How are the preparations for tonight's choir competition coming along? He asked Chloe. All set, she replied. Tyler and I have already checked and tested all the equipment in the main auditorium. Leo nodded. Good work. Make sure you two pay yourselves for the extra hours. Chloe already paid me, Tyler said, holding up the money. We were just saying how you've really whipped the SGA into shape. So that's what I heard, Leo laughed. When it's just us, you can call me Leo. All this president stuff is kind of embarrassing. Chloe shook her head. No way. You're the president, so we call you president. Tyler glanced at his watch. President Miller, Chloe, I'm running late. I'd better get going. Right, go on, Leo said with a nod. After Tyler left, Leo chatted with Chloe for a few more minutes before heading back to the library. The moment he returned, Julianne looked up. Lee, when I'm done with this chapter, will you take me home for a bit? Sure, you're not going to ask why. Whatever our Jules wants to do is the right thing to do. My job is to execute the plan, not ask questions. Ha ha, Julianne laughed, delighted. Since when did you become so enlightened? Since forever. Good boy. She reached out and ruffled his hair a few times. After leaving campus, Tyler took the subway to Ethelbert Prep. He arrived just as school was letting out. In the sea of students pouring out of the gate, he spotted his sister immediately. Mia, over here. Brother. The girl, Mia, noticed him and ran over with a bright smile. After Julianne finished writing for the day, Leo drove her back to her apartment in the projects. Since they were short on time, he didn't bother going home to switch cars and just took the Rolls-Royce. As they neared her neighborhood, Julianne asked him to find a parking lot nearby so they could walk the rest of the way. It was the weekend and many of their neighbors were home. She didn't want to be the subject of gossip for rolling up in a luxury car. Having grown up poor, she knew people all too well. Some of her neighbors could be happy being poor together, but they couldn't stand to see one of their own do well. They'd relish any misfortune that came her way. As they were climbing the stairs to her floor, a man in a hoodie rushed past them, bumping hard into Leo. Leo stumbled, nearly falling, but Julianne caught his arm. Annoyed that someone had shoved her boyfriend, Julianne snapped. "What's the rush?" In a hurry to die, the man ignored her and kept running down the stairs without looking back. Leo frowned. Something felt off. He started to go after him, but Julianne held him back. "Forget it. This neighborhood is full of rude people. It's not worth it. That guy, he seemed strange," Leo muttered, watching the man's retreating back. "Who knows what his problem is? Let's just go." Okay. Leaving the minor incident behind them, they continued up to her apartment. As they got closer, a strong smell of paint hit them. Leo quickened his pace. Julianne followed right behind. They stopped dead in their tracks, staring in shock. Julianne's front door and the surrounding wall were covered in dripping, blood-red paint. It wasn't random graffiti. It was a series of vicious threats. Dodgers, go to hell. Your whole family will die. A horrible death awaits. Pay up in 3 days or get cut. We'll burn you alive. The words were still wet. An open can of paint lay on its side, its contents spilling across the concrete floor, staining it the color of a fresh crime scene. Seeing her home desecrated like this, Julianne's hands clenched into fists, her body trembling with rage. Leo's eyes burned with anger. He was now certain the man who'd bumped into them was responsible, and he'd let him get away. Why? Julianne's voice shook, the trembling intensifying. Her eyes turned red. Even after Trevor is in prison, why do these monsters keep torturing me and my mom? The happy time she'd spent with Leo had almost made her forget the misery of her past, but this scene brought all the hatred rushing back. Leo gently wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close as she shivered uncontrollably. "It's okay," he soothed. "Leave this to me. I'm here. It's all going to be okay." The moment he held her, the fire in Julianne's eyes dissolved. The anger and grief melted into a raw, overwhelming sorrow. The strong, resilient woman she always tried to be crumbled, and she began to sob like a wounded animal in his arms. It's okay," Leo murmured, stroking her back, comforting her. She hastily wiped her tears, forced a smile, and turned to see a girl standing a short distance away. "Susie, you're home today?" she asked. "Yeah, we have the afternoon off from school," the girl, Susie, said as she walked over. She was around 15 or 16, with a ponytail, big eyes, and a sweet, pretty face. Julian introduced her to Leo. "This is Susie Zhang. Her dad is Big Mike, the butcher. They live on the floor below us." The name clicked for Leo. He remembered Big Mike from the day he and Julianne had helped Mrs. Gable sell vegetables. On their way home, the butcher had given them a free pork lung. Leo found it hard to believe that the burly, tough-looking man could have such a beautiful daughter. Maybe his wife was a knockout, or maybe even a looker before he put on the weight. "This is my boyfriend, Leo Miller," Julianne told Susie. "You can call him Leo." Susie waved shyly. "Hi, Leo." "Hey, Susie," Leo replied with a warm smile. After the introductions, Susie's eyes fell on the vandalized door. "I was at home on my phone when I heard a noise outside your door, so I thought I'd come up and check." "What? What happened?" "It's nothing," Julianne said, trying to appear calm. "Probably just the loan sharks my dad borrowed from." In front of her young neighbor, Julianne struggled to maintain her image as the cool, collected older sister. Susie whispered, "I heard Mrs. Hale say your dad went to jail. He's gone, but he left this mess for my mom and me," Julianne said, her fists clenching again. She desperately wanted to scream that he was a monster, but she controlled herself, not wanting to lose it in front of Susie. Sensing she might have said the wrong thing, Susie offered a quiet word of comfort. You shouldn't be so angry, Jules. He's not worth it." Everyone in the building knew what a scumbag Trevor Hale was. No one who knew his story had a good word to say about him. Julianne nodded, forcing another smile. "How's school going, Susie? You just started sophomore year. Are you keeping up?" "It's okay," Susie said. "Just really tiring. We only get a half day off every 2 weeks and a full weekend once a month." "Well, you have a rare afternoon off, so you should go rest," Julianne said kindly. "We have some things to take care of, so I can't invite you in right now." "Okay." Susie, ever considerate, didn't linger. As she turned to leave, she looked back. "Jules, if you're being bullied, you should call the police." Julianne nodded. "I know, Susie. You go get some rest. Don't worry about me." After Susie left, Julianne let out a long breath. She looked at the red paint. "What do we do now?" "Call the cops," Leo asked. "Do you know the names of the people who lent your dad the money?" Julianne shook her head. "Then we'll report it." "But I know where he used to go gambling," she interrupted. "Oh, Elysian Springs Spa. Yeah, I think that's what it was called," Julianne confirmed. "It's in the outskirts of Ethelberg City, pretty far from here, but close to the airport. I followed my dad there once. On the surface, it's a spa, but it's a front for all kinds of dirty business. All right, I'll have someone look into it, Leo said. He made a quick call to his family's all-purpose butler, asking him to investigate the spa. Looking at Julianne's defaced wall, he added, and find me a professional painting crew. I need a wall repainted. Fast. Get it done within the hour. I'll send you the address. Right away, sir. Half an hour later, a full-service renovation team, dispatched by Leo's butler, arrived at the apartment. They not only repainted the exterior wall, but also replaced the door and window frames. The professionals were ruthlessly efficient. The old window was out in 20 seconds, the door in a minute. Staring at the brand-new entrance, Julianne finally felt the knot in her chest loosen. After the crew left, she curled up against Leo like a little fox, rubbing her face against his shoulder and murmuring, "Lily, without you, I can't even imagine how hopeless my life would be." Feeling better now? Much better. She planted a kiss on his cheek and grinned. "Thanks, babe." She tried to nuzzle against his chest again, but he gently pushed her away. "Don't start. I'm trying to behave myself lately. You're my boyfriend. What's wrong with a little nuzzling?" she protested, leaning in again. Leo's face flushed. "Get off me. You always start a fire and then refuse to put it out." Julianne's eyes darted down toward his lap. The shameless hussy wasn't embarrassed at all. She smirked. "Ooh, pitching a little tent, are we?" Hey, what are you doing? Don't touch me. You're my boyfriend. What's wrong with a little touch?" Just as Leo was about to suffer a terrible fate, a knock on the new door made them both jump. The sound almost gave Leo a heart attack. Julianne sprang off the couch as if launched from a catapult. "Jules, are you in there?" Clara Hale's voice called from the hallway. "Why, yeah, Mom. I'm here," Julianne stammered. Her face beat red as she scrambled to open the door. Clara stood in the doorway, her eyes wide with confusion. "What happened to the wall? And the door? I thought I was on the wrong floor." It's a long story." After hearing the explanation from Julianne and Leo, Clara's face hardened with anger. "Those bastards," she spat. "If they dare to come back, I'll fight them myself." "Mrs. Hale, please don't be angry. Let me handle this," Leo said, patting his chest confidently. "I've got people." "Oh, Leo." Clara looked at him with an apologetic expression. "I'm so sorry. This is our family's problem, but you've been dragged into it." Leo took Julianne's hand. "Don't worry about it. I'm Julianne's boyfriend. Your problems are my problems." Clara sighed. "Thank you for everything today. How much did the repairs cost?" "I'll transfer you the money." Leo quickly waved his hands. "No, Mrs. Hale, it's nothing. Really, how can I let you do that? You're just a kid yourself. You can't be paying for this." Clara stood up, ready to get her purse. Leo shot Julianne a desperate look. Julianne immediately grabbed her mother's arm. "It's okay, Mom. Don't worry about the money." She was already so deep in debt to Leo. She figured, what was one more favor? She'd never be able to pay him back, unless her novel suddenly made her a world-famous author, which, given her current stats, seemed unlikely. Besides, she had already decided Leo was the only man for her. She'd just have to marry him and give him 8 kids to make up for it. Wait, is 8 too many? Nah, he's rich enough to support them. "Yeah, really," Leo added, standing up. "It wasn't much, Mrs. Hale. It's fine." Clara hesitated. The truth was, she didn't have the money. A new door alone would cost thousands, not to mention the paint job. It could easily be over $10,000. She had, at most, a couple thousand to her name, and giving that up would make it hard to cover their daily expenses. "Well, I can't just let it go," she insisted. "Leo, keep a record of it, and I'll write you an IOU. I'll owe you." Leo shook his head. "No, really, Mrs. Hale, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. An IOU must be written." In the end, Clara dragged her daughter into the bedroom and wrote out a formal IOU for Leo. Her stubborn pride reminded Leo of his own mother. She had been a strong woman, too, one who never borrowed and never owed anyone anything. Leo accepted the note gracefully. He had no intention of cashing it in, but accepting it was easier than arguing. After they ate a simple home-cooked meal Clara had prepared, Julianne packed a bag of clothes for school. She gave her mother a few last-minute instructions, and then left with Leo. On their way down, they ran into Big Mike, who was about to take Susie to school. Julianne offered to give Susie a ride, and after thanking her profusely, Big Mike promised to give her free meat the next time she came to his shop. "Mr. Zhang, we're neighbors. You don't have to be so formal," Julianne said with a smile. "You've helped me out plenty of times. My boyfriend has a car, so it's on our way. No thanks needed." After dropping Susie off, Big Mike headed back to Market Street. He hadn't sold all his pork for the day, so his stall was still open. Once in Leo's car, Susie looked around curiously. "Jules," she asked, "is Leo's family rich?" Julianne thought for a moment. They run a small business. I guess you could say they have some money. That makes sense, Susie nodded. This car is a Rolls-Royce, right? You know about cars? Leo asked, surprised. It was rare for a girl her age to be interested in them. A classmate told me. He said the cars with the little statue on the front are called Rolls-Royces, and they're super expensive, Susie explained. I've only seen one once at school, but that one statue wasn't as pretty as yours. Yours is crystal. His was just silver. Leo smiled. Someone at your school drives a Rolls-Royce? Sounds like you have some wealthy students there. Susie nodded. Ethelbert Prep is the best high school in the city, so there are a lot of rich people. But the rich kids don't study. They just cause trouble. Hearing this, Julianne immediately said, You focus on your studies and don't hang out with people like that. You hear me? I know, Susie said earnestly. I want to be like you, Jules. Get into a good university and repay my parents. Good, Julianne nodded. And if anyone bullies you at school, you tell me, okay? Okay, grumble. Susie's stomach let out a loud growl, startlingly audible in the quiet car. She blushed with embarrassment. Julianne, turn around. You haven't had dinner yet? No. My mom is still at work at the factory, and my dad can't cook. I was going to eat at the school cafeteria. We'll buy you something on the way, then. No, you don't have to trouble yourself, Jules. My dad gave me money. I'll just get something at school. I have evening classes soon, so I don't have time to eat out. We'll just get you some fast food to take with you, Leo said for the driver's seat. Yeah, your brother Leo is right, Julianne added. We'll get you a burger to bring to school. Really, you don't have to. It's too much trouble. It's fine, Julianne insisted. It's on the way, no trouble at all. And he's loaded. Next time, I'll let you help me drain his bank account. Susie giggled, looking at the two of them in the front seat. Jules, you're saying that right in front of him? Hey, Leo protested. What do you mean, drain my bank account? Am I just your personal ATM? Julianne stuck her tongue out at him in the rearview mirror. I'm just joking with Susie. There were plenty of food options near Ethelbert Prep, including a McDonald's right across the street. Leo and Julianne took Susie inside and bought a McFamily box. It wasn't a huge amount of food, barely enough for two people. Julianne and Leo took the 2 sodas, but refused any of the food. Susie tried to hand the bag back to Julianne. A burger is enough for me. You two take the rest back to campus. I can't possibly eat all of this. It's okay, Julianne said, pushing the bag back. Keep it. If you can't finish it, share with your classmates. We've already eaten. They went back and forth a few times, but Susie eventually gave in and took the bag. Okay, then, next time you have to come over for dinner. My mom will make you her famous braised ribs. Deal. I'll thank her in advance, Julianne said, gently patting Susie's head. It's getting late. You should head inside. When she patted Susie's head, her touch was gentle, following the grain of her hair. When she touched Leo's head, it was more like petting a dog, a chaotic, vigorous scratching. Okay, Susie said, waving to them. Bye, Jules. Bye, Leo. Bye, they called back in unison. Watching Susie walk away, Leo smiled. She's a really sweet kid. Of course, Julianne said, hands on her hips. She's a great girl. President Miller. As they were chatting in front of the school, someone called out Leo's official title. They turned to see Tyler Yu waving and jogging toward them. Behind him was a girl who looked slightly older than Susie, also wearing the Ethelbert Prep uniform. She had her hair in a neat ponytail and a few pimples on her cheeks, a common sight for high school students drowning in homework. This must be the sister Tyler had mentioned. What a coincidence, running into you here, Tyler said with a smile. President, what are you doing at the prep school? Dropping someone off, Leo said, gesturing to Julianne. My girlfriend's neighbor's little sister. She goes to Ethelbert Prep too? Small world. What's her name? Maybe my sister knows her. Tyler eagerly introduced his own sister, Mia. She was a senior, and Tyler had just treated her to a celebratory burger at the McDonald's across the street after a city tour. They had just missed Leo's group, having stopped at a supermarket for school supplies afterward. Mia gave shy wave. Hi, nice to meet you. Hey, you too, they replied. Her sister is a sophomore, so they probably don't know each other, Tyler concluded after Julianne explained. Are you busy now? Leo asked him. Nope, just dropping her off and heading back. It's almost 7, and the student events committee has a long night ahead with the choir competition. Leo pointed to his car parked nearby. We can give you a ride back. We're heading to campus anyway. Tyler's eyes widened. Really? Thanks, President Miller. That's so nice of you, but I don't want to be a bother. Don't be silly, Julianne said. It's on our way. It's no trouble at all. Mia turned to her brother. Well, I should probably get inside then. Yeah, go on. Text me if you need anything. Okay. Mia waved to Leo and Julianne one last time. Bye. Nice to meet you. The familiar scene reminded them of Susie just moments before. They waved back again. Bye. As Leo watched Mia's retreating figure, something clicked in his mind. Mia, you. That name. I've written that name in my book before. I'm sure of it. Mia gone. Tyler followed Leo and Julianne toward the car. Can she have a phone in high school? Leo asked casually. The phones are collected by the teachers and only given back on weekends, Tyler explained. But she has a smartwatch I got her for her birthday. She can use that to call or text me. All right. When they reached the Rolls-Royce, Tyler asked curiously, President, did you get a new car? What happened to the old one? The old one. I gave it to my dad. Leo lied smoothly, opening the door. This isn't new. It's just been sitting in our garage forever. No one was driving it, so I took it out. Hearing Leo's explanation, Tyler couldn't help but sigh. Just how rich is your family? Leo fudged. I don't know. Never counted. The Rolls-Royce with its crystal hood ornament made a U-turn in front of Ethelberg Prep and headed toward the Royal Academy. The impressive car drew stares from many students, including Caleb Sterling, who was just returning from a game of pool with his cronies. As the car approached, one of his lackeys said, Caleb, don't you have a car like that? Oomph. Caleb grunted non-committally. He knew this wasn't an ordinary Rolls-Royce, and he knew his family couldn't afford one like it. But since his follower had brought it up, he couldn't lose face. He had to play along. Just then, he noticed the driver looked familiar. He felt like he'd seen him somewhere before. It wasn't until the car was far down the road that it hit him. Isn't that my idiot cousin's friend? The one named Leo something. He's a college student. What's he doing at Ethelberg Prep? After returning to campus, Leo went straight back to his dorm to sleep. To avoid any appearance of favoritism, he decided to skip the choir competition. Julianne, however, had to perform. With her gone, Leo had nothing better to do. Meanwhile, Tyler rushed back to the Student Activity Center to help Chloe. The doors to the main auditorium on the 4th floor were already open, and some of the early arriving classes were on stage, practicing their entrances and exits. The event was being managed entirely by Chloe and Jessica from the Student Events Committee, and the judges were all respected faculty members, ensuring a fair competition. The Finance 1 class had drawn the 11th performance slot, the exact same number as in Leo's original story. Serafina was busy giving her classmates a pep talk. For the competition, they had all bought matching class t-shirts, cheap, screen-printed tees that cost a few dozen bucks each. And next, please welcome the Finance 1 class from the College of Business with their performance of Our Time to Shine. Let's give them a big round of applause. Under Serafina's clear direction, the students quickly fell into their rehearsed formation. It was proof that, even without Leo, Vice President Serafina Rose was more than capable of leading the class. Once everyone was in place, she gave the signal to begin, and the music started. The sun is bright, the breeze is light. It whispers softly as the birds take flight. Meanwhile, at Ethelberg Prep, I'm going to ask you one last time. How did you get those bruises on your face? Caleb's homeroom teacher sat at his desk, staring sternly at the defiant boy slouched in front of him. This was the same lackey Caleb had beaten in the corner of the classroom that morning. The teacher knew exactly what had happened, but he had no intention of getting involved. Or rather, he was powerless to. The Sterling family was too influential, and he was just a teacher. Why would he risk his job by provoking them? He had only dragged the boy into his office for a scolding because the boy's parents had called. He was just going through the motions. I tripped and fell, the boy said, not caring at all. Say that again. I tripped, and I fell. Fine. I'm not going to waste my breath on you. You can call your parents and explain it to them yourself. The teacher slapped the boy's phone down on the desk and gestured for him to make the call outside. Since the kid was sticking to his story, there was nothing more the teacher could do. He had fulfilled his duty. As long as the parents didn't bother him again, it was over. Sir, there's something. I need to tell you. Just as the boy left the office, Mia, you walked in. Mia, what can I do for you? The teacher's stern expression immediately melted into a warm smile. Come in, sit down. For a diligent student like Mia, who was consistently in the top 3 of the class, he naturally had a different attitude than he did for the troublemakers. Mia took out her phone. Sir, my phone. I'll be collecting all the phones in class shortly, he said, waving his hand. You don't need to bring it to me. That's not it. I wanted to show you. Mia opened her photo gallery. I have video evidence of Caleb Sterling bullying a classmate. What? The teacher's attention sharpened. Mia played the video she had secretly recorded that afternoon. In it, Caleb was mercilessly beating the boy who had just left the office with a broom handle. Caleb's face was clearly visible, one moment contorted in a tight-lipped snarl, the next stretched into a wild, manic grin. He looked like a madman. It was hard to believe this monster was a young master from Ethelberg City's most powerful family. After watching, the teacher's brow furrowed. He looked at Mia. Delete this video. Immediately. Why? Mia asked, confused. They bully students all the time. Plenty of kids in our class have been treated like this. How can you let them get away with it? That's enough, the teacher interrupted. You focus on your studies. If you don't bother them, a good student like you has nothing to worry about. If they ever harass you for no reason, you come and tell me, and I'll talk to them. But if you keep this video and they find out, I can't protect you. Do you understand? But, delete it. The teacher's voice was firm. Mia, you're old enough to know who Caleb Sterling is. The world isn't black and white. Don't try to be a hero. Your only path forward is to study hard. Hearing his words, Mia hesitated, then nodded weakly. Okay, I understand. She looked like a deflated balloon, her shoulders slumping. You must delete it, the teacher insisted. Do it now. In front of me. Okay. Mia deleted the video as he watched. Then, she turned and left the office, her eyes meeting those of the boy who had been beaten as he was walking back in. On her way down the stairs, she accidentally bumped into another girl. Oh, I'm so sorry, Mia said, picking up the girl's dropped notebook. On the cover page was a name, Susie Zhang. It's okay, it's okay. At the Royal Academy, Leo lay down in his room and fell asleep almost instantly. He had a dream. He was standing on top of a very tall building. An empty school, it seemed. Behind him, a monstrous creature was chasing him. He took a frightened step back, his foot finding only air, and he watched helplessly as he plunged toward the ground. The feeling of weightlessness was so intense, so real, that he woke with a violent jolt, sitting bolt upright in bed, gasping for air. Cold sweat beaded on his forehead. He felt a profound sense of relief, as if he had just survived a real fall. The dream had been terrifyingly vivid. Beep, beep, beep. His phone rang, and the sudden noise made the already startled Leo jump again. It was a video call from Julianne. Hey, sleepyhead, did you just wake up? You look pale. That's because your call scared me half to death, Leo said, deciding not to mention the nightmare. How's the competition going? It's almost over. We don't have the results yet, but I heard the music department judge loved our song. Our class was amazing tonight. I think we'll get top 3 at least. Julianne's voice was buzzing with excitement. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. Wait until you actually have the trophy to get excited. I know. I'm just bored and wanted to call you. After a few more minutes of chatting with Julianne, Leo decided he might as well get up and head to the Student Activity Center. The competition was almost over anyway. You're getting dressed, so why are you hanging up? A voice message from Julianne arrived the moment he ended the call. How am I supposed to get dressed if I don't hang up? He replied. Just change in front of me, she said, her tone utterly shameless. You're my boyfriend. Why do you have to hide from me when you're just changing your clothes? Oh, shut up, you pervert. Leo sent the message, put his phone down, and got dressed. As he was about to leave, his eyes fell on his car keys. He thought for a second, then grabbed them. Driving would save him a few steps. It wasn't because he was lazy, of course. It was because he wanted to conserve his energy to cheer for everyone at the victory party later. Okay, maybe it was because he was lazy. He went down to the parking garage, fired up his flashy Rolls-Royce, and headed for the SAC. As he approached the building, a figure suddenly darted out in front of his car, blocking his path. Leo frowned. Is someone really trying to pull an insurance scam on me here at the Royal Academy? Do they want to get expelled? He flashed his high beams, trying to dazzle the person, but they didn't move. Instead, they raised a hand and ran closer. It was only then that Leo recognized the frantic figure. Tyler, you? What's going on with you? Why are you being so reckless? Leo asked, his curiosity piqued by Tyler's panicked expression. President Miller, something's happened. Tyler gripped the car door, his words tumbling out in a rush. What? Did something happen with the SG? No, not the SGA. It's Ethelberg Prep. Tyler took a deep breath. My sister's in trouble. Can you please drive me there? I'm begging you. I'll pay you for the gas. Hearing his frantic plea, a sense of foreboding washed over Leo. Get in. As soon as Tyler was in the car, Leo whipped it around and floored it toward the campus gate. Inside the car, Tyler explained what had happened. I was in the auditorium backstage, packing up equipment when my sister called me. She was crying, saying she was trapped in a bathroom and some people were going to beat her up. I panicked. I just dropped everything and ran out. I was trying to call her homeroom teacher while running for the gate, and that's when I saw you driving this way. Half an hour earlier, after her failed attempt to report the bullying, Mia returned to her classroom. As she went to sit down, someone yanked her chair out from under her, and she crashed to the floor. Before she could react, 2 of Caleb's cronies were standing over her. One of them pointed at her. You filmed what happened this morning, didn't you? Mia's heart leaped in her throat. Her eyes widened in panic. No, I didn't. I didn't film anything. Oh, just one question, and you're already this nervous. Caleb pushed his lackeys aside and crouched down to look at her. Isn't that basically an admission of guilt? A cruel smirk played on his lips, and his cold eyes made Mia feel as if she'd been plunged into an ice bath. She scrambled to her feet, backing away. She glanced at the classroom security camera. It was covered with a piece of clothing. It was clearly Caleb's doing. They already knew. They were just waiting to get their revenge. But how? She wondered. Only the teacher and I were in the office. As if answering her question, Caleb held up his phone and played a recording. It was her conversation with the teacher, the audio faint and full of static. Mia understood instantly. The boy who had been pretending to make a call outside the office had recorded them. Her brow furrowed in confusion. She couldn't understand why. She had been trying to help him, so why would he betray her? She looked around for help, her eyes meeting her desk mates. He immediately looked down, pretending he hadn't seen anything. She looked at the other students. They all avoided her gaze like she had the plague. No one dared to stand up to Caleb Sterling. A wave of despair washed over her. She closed her eyes, filled with regret. She regretted her meddling, regretted taking that video, and she hated that these rich kids could get away with anything just because of their family's power. I already deleted the video, she said, her eyes still closed. You can check my phone if you don't believe me. She pulled her phone from her pocket and held it out to him. Smack! Caleb slapped the phone out of her hand with a look of disgust. It hit the floor, the screen shattering. Mia bent down to pick it up, but one of Caleb's lackeys stepped on it, then kicked it across the room. The phone slammed into the wall, the screen going black, leaving a dent in the plaster. What? What do you want from me? Mia trembled, a mixture of fear and anger rising within her. You love snitching, don't you? Go on, tell that old fool that I cornered you in the classroom and beat you up. Go. Everyone here saw it. They're all witnesses. You have plenty of evidence. Go tell the principal. Let's see what you can do to me. Caleb's arrogance was boundless. He gestured wildly, his voice rising with excitement. I'm sorry. Mia stumbled backward, bumping into the desk behind her. The boy sitting there kept his head down, silent. Caleb ignored her apology. Do you believe, he threatened, leaning in close, that I could kill you right here in this classroom and still walk away without a scratch? Trash like you'll spend your whole life being stepped on by people like me. Just then, the homeroom teacher walked in. What is going on in here? He boomed. Everyone get back to your seats. Caleb shot the teacher a look, then turned back to Mia. We're not done, he whispered before deliberately bumping her shoulder as he walked back to his seat in the last row. The teacher called Mia out into the hall. Are you all right? Did they bother you? No, Mia shook her head. She was still in shock. After Caleb's threats, she was too terrified to say anything more to the teacher. Besides, she knew it wouldn't do any good. After the first period of evening study hall, Mia, terrified that Caleb would corner her in the classroom again, took her water bottle and fled to the hot water dispensary, a small room with security cameras covering every angle. She planned to hide there until the next class began, but Caleb and his friends had other ideas. They blocked the doorway. The moment she stepped out, they shoved her. She fell, and the freshly filled bottle of hot water clattered to the floor, spilling everywhere. Luckily, her thick winter clothes protected her from getting burned. Not very careful, are you? Tripping on a flat surface, Caleb sneered. He kicked her water bottle aside and sauntered back toward the classroom. His two lackeys each gave the bottle another kick, shattering the plastic. Mia stared at the broken bottle on the floor, a sob catching in her throat. She picked herself up and returned to her seat, her head down. During the break after the second period, she didn't dare move. But Caleb's cronies came to her desk and deliberately pushed her stack of textbooks to the floor, stomping on them for good measure. Unable to hold it in any longer, Mia covered her face and ran out of the classroom. Caleb, assuming she was going to tattle again, sent someone to follow her. Mia ducked into the girls' restroom and locked herself in a stall. Using her smartwatch, she called her brother. She had barely managed to get a few words out when someone started pounding on the stall door. It was two girls, also part of Caleb's crew. They hurled threats and insults at her from the other side. After the call, Mia remained huddled in the stall, determined not to come out until her brother arrived. The bathroom was damp and smelled foul. As she squatted in the corner, she thought back to the afternoon she'd spent with her brother. She had asked him what to do when faced with injustice. You use your own strength to try and change what's unfair, he had told her. He'd even told her the story of their new SGA president at USC, using it as an example of courage. But I was doing the right thing. She thought desperately. Why isn't anyone helping me? Was I wrong? She sank into a spiral of self-doubt. The pounding on the door eventually stopped. Seeing that their threats weren't working, the two girls seemed to give up and leave. The restroom fell silent. Still, Mia didn't dare move. She stayed in her corner, waiting. The bell for the next class rang. She remained in the stall. Did you think hiding in the girls' bathroom would save you? Caleb's voice sliced through the silence from just outside her stall. A second later, a water hose appeared over the top of the partition. Whoosh! A torrent of icy cold tap water drenched her. In that moment, something inside her broke, and she collapsed into loud, racking sobs. But they weren't finished. Her desperate cries were like a stimulant, electrifying Caleb's senses. His lips began to twitch, his eyes growing wild and strange. Hee. Ha ha ha. A bizarre laugh escaped him. He started kicking the stall door. Don't think you can hide from me. Get out. Get out. Ha ha. His lackeys, recognizing the signs of one of his manic episodes, backed away cautiously. Bang. Thud. Caleb kicked the door with all his might. The flimsy lock didn't stand chance. The door flew open. He grabbed Mia by the hair and dragged her out of the stall. Go on, hide. Let's see where you can run now. Mia scrambled backward on the wet floor until her back hit the wall. Her legs gave out, and she slumped to the ground. You're a good student. Why did you have to cross me? He screamed, his voice unhinged. Why does everyone have to cross me? What did I ever do to you people? Am I some kind of unforgivable monster? Mia just shook her head, frantically mumbling apologies. Her weak, tear-streaked face seemed to trigger something else in him. He clenched his fists, his whole body trembling. What are you crying for? Is crying going to help? Get up. Come on, kill me. You're fake tears. Just like my fake cousin. You're all bastards. You all deserve to die. Go to hell. All of you. With a final roar, he drew back his foot and kicked her hard in the stomach. Leo's car screeched to a halt at the Ethelbert prep gate. While the security guard was still asking for his reason for visiting, Tyler threw open the car door and bolted, sprinting toward his sister's classroom, building like a wild horse. After a brief, pointless argument with the guard, Leo gave up on words, stomped on the gas, and drove straight through the gate. The guard, not a complete idiot, didn't dare try to stop a car of that caliber. Tyler didn't find Mia in her classroom and immediately made a beeline for the girls' restroom on the same floor. Leo was right behind him. Thanks to his recent workouts, he was actually able to keep up with the frantic Tyler. Two girls were standing guard outside the restroom, the same two who had been harassing Mia earlier. They tried to block the entrance. Tyler didn't waste time with words. He barreled past them with sheer force. Leo was even more direct. He delivered a swift kick to each of them, knocking them to the ground, and strode inside. When you could use your fists or feet, words were unnecessary. It was a lesson he'd learned from Damien. The first thing Tyler saw inside was Mia, curled up on the floor, clutching her stomach in agony. His eyes instantly turned bloodshot, and he gritted his teeth so hard they audibly ground together. You son of a bitch. Caleb, who was catching his breath, turned just in time to meet a fist. Tyler's punch sent him sprawling. Without a second's hesitation, Tyler pounced, straddling Caleb and raining down blows on his face. Caleb's lackeys, recovering from their shock, started to move in, but Leo blocked their path. He looked down at the group of high schoolers, none of whom were as tall as him. You haven't even hit puberty, and you're already playing at being gangsters? Who the hell are you? ARGH. The first one to step forward received a swift, brutal kick to the groin. It was a dirty move, but a damn effective one. Nico Sterling wasn't about to just stand there and take it. He shot a few quick jabs into Tyler Yu's side, a spot where every punch felt like a lightning strike. As Tyler instinctively doubled over, Nico shoved him away and scrambled to his feet. What the fuck, you piece of shit? Nico spat a mouthful of blood onto the tiled floor, then reared his leg back to stomp on Tyler. The next thing he knew, a sharp crack echoed through the restroom. Leo Miller's palm had connected with his face, sending his head whipping to the side. The slap was so clean, so loud, it left him completely stunned. Smack! Nico clutched his cheek, his eyes wide with disbelief as he stared at Leo. Only then did he recognize him. He'd just met his cousin Damien's friend at dinner the night before, and now here he was again. Behind Leo, one of the boys was writhing on the floor, moaning, while the other three looked on, their faces pale with shock, swallowing hard at the sight. While Nico was still reeling, Leo moved to help Tyler up. The punches to his side had only fueled Tyler's rage. His eyes were bloodshot, practically spitting fire as he glared at Nico. Leo held Tyler back. Bringing a whole crew to jump a high school girl? He asked, pointing at Nico. Is this what Marcus Sterling teaches his son? Huh, none of your damn boozy. Smack! Before Nico could finish his sentence, Leo slapped him again, this time on the other cheek. You motherfucker! Smack! Another hard slap cut him off. The repeated blows sent a surge of fury through Nico, so intense it felt like internal bleeding. He lunged forward, hands outstretched to choke Leo, but was knocked aside by a headbutt from Tyler. The two of them were instantly a tangle of limbs again. Leo, man, go check on my sister. Tyler yelled, his voice strained. Even in the heat of the fight, his first thought was of Talia. Leo crossed the restroom and knelt beside Talia, who was lying on the floor. Her face was deathly pale, and it was clear she was in a bad way. There were cuts on her arms and face, and a trickle of blood at the corner of her mouth. When Leo touched her clothes, he realized she was soaked through, her skin as cold as ice. She flinched instinctively at his touch. Talia grabbed Leo's hand, her voice a desperate whisper. Leo, you have to stop my brother. That's Nico Sterling. We can't afford to mess with him. It's okay. Don't be afraid. We can handle him, Leo said, his tone firm. He gently patted her back. Where does it hurt? My stomach. She coughed twice, a sickening wet sound. Ugh. A gush of blood spilled from her lips. Leo had never seen anything like it, and a jolt of genuine fear shot through him. He yelled at Tyler, stop fighting. Your sister's hurt bad. We need to get her to a hospital. Hearing this, Tyler whipped his head around. Nico, who had been pinned against the wall, saw his chance. He kicked Tyler off him and scrambled behind his cronies. Both of his cheeks were swelling rapidly, and a gash on his forehead was bleeding down his face, making him look deranged. But the viciousness in his eyes hadn't faded one bit. Even after the beating, he was still shouting threats. You worthless pieces of trash. You dare touch me? None of you are going to see the sun tomorrow. I'll fucking kill your entire family. Leo ignored him completely, speaking urgently to Tyler as he ran over. Let's go. Get her to the hospital. Yeah, okay. Seeing his sister's pained expression, Tyler forgot everything else. He scooped her up and bolted out of the restroom, with Leo right behind him. Nico wasn't about to let them leave. He kicked each of his 3 lackeys. Stop them. The boys stumbled into the hallway, blocking the exit. You think you can just walk away after hitting me? Not a chance. Smack. Leo hit him again, a backhand so hard it sent Nico spinning like a top. Where the hell do you get off talking so much trash? Nico stumbled back several steps before catching his balance. He grabbed Leo's shirt. Don't think I'm scared of you just because you know my cousin. You can die with these 2 bastards. Seeing that Nico wouldn't let it go, Leo waved a hand at Tyler. Go. I'll handle him. Don't you run. Nico lunged for Tyler, but Leo kicked him square in the ass. He went down face first, eating tile, giving Tyler the opening he needed to disappear down the hall. Leo leaned down, grabbed Nico by the hair, and lifted his head. Do you really think I only dared to hit you because I have your cousin backing me up? He said, his voice low and dangerous. Get this straight. Your cousin Damien has to call me Miller out of respect. What the hell does that make you? How am I any worse than him? Nico shrieked, Leo's words striking a raw nerve. His already swollen face twisted into a grotesque mask of fury. He swung a fist, aiming for Leo's side just as he'd done to Tyler. Leo simply yanked his hair, slamming his head against the floor before bringing his foot down hard on Nico's outstretched fist. Nico screamed, blood pouring from his nose and mouth. The piercing pain robbed him of any strength to fight back. Leo looked down at him coldly, then pulled out his phone and dialed Damien Sterling. Miller, we won the ring. The end of class bell for the 3rd evening session blared the moment the call connected, drowning out Damien's voice. From the other end, Damien sounded confused. Miller? Where are you? Come to Ethelberg Prep. The prep school. Damien's voice paused, then took on an urgent edge as if he'd already guessed. What did Nico do? You'll see when you get here. I'm on my way, Damien said, hanging up instantly. Leo put his phone away just as a group of girls walked into the restroom. They saw Leo and the bodies strewn at his feet, let out a collective shriek, and fled. As they ran, Leo heard one of them yell, "There's a psycho killer in the bathroom." Seriously? You've got to be kidding me, Leo muttered, pulling out his phone and switching to the front-facing camera. I'm handsome, suave, a total dreamboat, and you're calling me a psycho killer? His face was speckled with blood, which, he had to admit, did look a little alarming at first glance. He ripped a piece of fabric off one of the unconscious boy's shirts and wiped his face clean. And that's what happened, Leo said, casually shaking his hand, which was red from slapping Nico. He recounted the story to the teachers assembled in the office. A man, who was clearly a dean, stared at him incredulously. So, you're saying Nico Sterling and his friends were bullying Talia Yu in the girls' restroom. Yu and her brother rushed in, which startled them, and then they descended into chaos, started fighting each other, and knocked themselves out. Then her brother took her to the hospital, and Yu stayed behind to mediate, which is when the girls happened to walk in. Yeah, the gospel truth. Leo nodded with the utmost seriousness. They were having a full-on brawl. Several of them were ganging up on Nico. I couldn't even stop them. It was terrifying. My hand got all red just from trying to pull Nico out of the pile. The dean and the other teachers in the office exchanged looks of complete disbelief. They turned their attention to the boys standing behind Leo. Behind Leo stood the 3 conscious lackeys and an exhausted, hoarse Nico, who was slumped on a chair beside them. There were only 3 because the 4th had been taken to the hospital after one of Leo's well-placed kicks. The 2 girls who had been lookouts had sensed trouble and bolted long before the real carnage began. The dean pointed to one of the boys. You, tell me what happened. I. The boy glanced at Nico, then at Leo, who was now staring daggers at him. He was so frightened he could only shake his head, completely speechless. The other 2 had the same reaction. Leo shrugged with an innocent expression. See, I told you the truth. Nico started to speak, his voice a raw rasp. Leo spun around and tapped him on the forehead. Don't get agitated when you're injured. You'll give yourself an aneurysm. You still talking. Leo gave him another tap. Alfuhe. I said, don't get excited. This time it was 2 taps. Leo's constant interruptions completely broke Nico's spirit. He slumped in his chair, utterly defeated. After bullying classmates for so long, Nico Sterling finally knew what it felt like to be on the receiving end. The teachers watched this display in stunned silence. Who was this guy? This was Nico Sterling. The Sterling family was behind him. Not only had this unknown kid beaten him up, but he was now brazenly smacking him on the head in front of everyone. And the most shocking part? The notoriously hot-tempered Nico wasn't exploding. Who on earth was this student? Just as a storm of questions brewed in their minds, Damien Sterling burst into the office, followed closely by Serafina, Rose, and Julianne Hale. Damien glanced at his cousin before turning to Leo. Miller, are you okay? Leo smiled and waved his reddened hand. Me? I'm great. Your cousin, on the other hand, not so much. And you say you're okay. Julianne stepped forward, taking Leo's hand in hers. You can't just go around fighting a him. Leo coughed lightly. Julianne caught on instantly. You can't just go around breaking up fights like this, she corrected smoothly. Look at your hand. Next time, remember to bring a baseball bat for self-defense. It's too dangerous. Nico, already miserable, felt a surge of rage so intense he nearly passed out. The air was knocked out of his lungs. He pointed a trembling finger at Leo and Julianne, his chest heaving. You too. I told you not to get excited. Leo raised his hand, and Nico flinched, instinctively ducking his head. Damien watched, a flicker of surprise in his eyes, as Leo brought his arrogant cousin to heel. The dean politely addressed Damien. Excuse me, you are? I'm his cousin, Damien Sterling. Ah, well, since this seems to be a private family matter, perhaps. You should handle it yourselves. The dean was visibly relieved to pass the buck. Damien's face turned cold. He pointed at Nico and roared. Tell me what happened. Who did you piss off this time? Oof. Nico let out a snort filled with contempt and disdain. He had always looked down on Damien. His whole life, everyone had compared them, and everyone had said he wasn't as good as his cousin. He even blamed Damien's side of the family for the abuse he and his mother suffered at his father's hands. He believed Damien was only superior because he was the eldest son of the eldest son, born lucky. If you took away their status, he was better than Damien in every way. This festering resentment had twisted him into a monster as he grew older. His inner brokenness made him hate anything beautiful, anyone stronger than him. So he became a tyrant at school, trampling on everyone to vent the repressed rage from his father's abuse. Their tears were his stimulant. The more they begged, the crazier he became. Who would have thought that a few slaps from Leo Miller could seemingly cure this twisted soul? Seeing Nico's arrogant defiance, Damien didn't hesitate. He raised his hand and slapped him hard across the face. Smack! The blow made Nico snap. What the FUCK gives you the right to hit me? He shrieked. You did something wrong. Why can't I hit you? In this entire world, Nico growled, his voice a low, guttural rasp. You, Damien Sterling, have N.O., right? To hit me. Say that again. Damien raised his hand again, but Nico shot up from his chair, ramming into Damien and knocking him to the ground. The two of them started wrestling on the floor. So much for being cured. It was actually impressive that Nico still had the energy to fight. Just as the teachers and Leo were about to separate them, Marcus Sterling and Donovan Sterling stormed into the office. Seeing his son pummeling Damien, Marcus felt his scalp tingle, his eyes practically bugging out of his head. "Nico, what the hell are you doing?" Marcus's face flushed crimson, veins popping on his forehead like writhing worms. His features contorted into a demonic mask. He ripped the leather belt from his waist and brought it down hard on Nico's back. Crack! The belt whistled through the air, tearing through Nico's shirt with tremendous force. Two teachers and Donovan Sterling immediately rushed forward to restrain the out-of-control Marcus. Watching Marcus's violent outburst, a flood of bad memories washed over Leo. He felt a wave of dizziness and instinctively took a step back, nearly falling. Julianne was there to steady him. "Lily, what's wrong?" she asked, concerned. "Nothing." Leo shook his head. "Probably just used up all my energy mediating. A little low blood sugar." Julianne glanced at the chaotic Sterling family drama. "So, should we dip?" she whispered. "I can take you to get something to eat." As far as she was concerned, the Sterling's business had nothing to do with her. All that mattered was that her boyfriend was okay. Besides, the affairs of a mega-rich family weren't something a small fry like her could get involved in. "No, we can't leave yet," Leo said, shaking his head again. "It's fine. Let's just wait a bit longer." "All right," Julianne nodded. Staying to watch the drama unfold wasn't so bad either. She had a soft spot for chaos. After the three men managed to pull Marcus away, Damien and Serafina helped Nico to his feet. A raw, red welt was already forming on his back, and he was trembling. The irony was thick in the air. The person he hated most was the one offering him a hand in his moment of humiliation. He stood up, violently shook off Damien's hand, and shakily lowered himself into a chair. When Marcus learned the full story, he nearly grabbed his belt to whip Nico again. He pointed at his son, screaming, "You animal! I have no son like you." Donovan, however, turned to Leo. "Leo, how is the young lady, Talia?" "She's still in the emergency room. Her brother's with her," he said. "It doesn't look good." Leo finished and turned his gaze to Damien. Damien immediately spoke up. "Father, uncle, as soon as I heard, I transferred $20,000 to Leo, to have him forward to Talia's brother for the medical bills." At this, Marcus visibly relaxed, as if a great weight had been lifted. He clapped Damien on the shoulder. "My dear nephew, thank God for you. So much better than this worthless disgrace." He raised the belt again as if to strike Nico, but Damien stopped him. "Uncle, what's done is done. Getting angry won't solve anything. We need to figure out how to resolve this." Yes, you're right." Marcus nodded. Nico's eyes were bloodshot as he glared at his cousin. He said nothing, but his furious gaze screamed the question. "Why do you always get to be the good guy? Why am I always the one who's put down and despised?" Donovan smiled faintly at Leo. "Leo, which hospital are Talia and her brother at?" Leo glanced at his phone. "The one right across from the prep school." Tyler didn't have a car, so he wouldn't have gone far. In an emergency, he would have chosen the closest option. "Good. We'll go there now," Donovan announced. Yes, brother is right. We'll go now." Marcus quickly agreed. Donovan was the first to leave the office, with the others following behind. Leo and Julianne brought up the rear. On the way to the hospital, Julianne whispered to Leo, "That whole performance from Marcus just now. That was for Donovan's benefit, wasn't it?" Leo glanced at her. In the moonlight, her sharp, beautiful eyes glinted with shrewd intelligence. He smiled and nodded. "Smart." Julianne grinned. "I was right." "Yep," Leo confirmed. If Donovan, Damien, and Serafina weren't all there, Marcus wouldn't give a damn about the life of some ordinary person. He wouldn't have even shown up tonight. He would have just sent someone to clean up Nico's mess. "I knew it," Julianne said, nodding. "Nico's been at that school for 3 years. There's no way Marcus didn't know his son was a terror. But he acted so shocked to hear about the bullying. His acting is top-notch." Julianne was right. Even the moment the belt tore Nico's shirt was part of the show for Donovan. After the dinner party the other night, Marcus had sensed a crisis looming. Donovan's side of the family was on the verge of consolidating control over the Sterling group. Now, with his son pulling a stunt like this, Donovan could easily use it to push him out of the picture for good. To protect his position, he had to stage this whole dramatic, self-flagellating performance. The act was a clear signal of submission to Donovan, telling him he would fall in line. It was also a subtle warning. My son's actions have nothing to do with me. Don't try to use him against me, because I'm ruthless enough to disown my own son. These powerful families were all about calculating self-interest. Every action by a smart player had a hidden meaning. Even Damien's mention of fronting the medical fees was a calculated move. Whether he actually sent the money or not was irrelevant. What mattered was that if Donovan brought it up at a board meeting, it would be incredibly useful. A troublemaker who treats others' lives as worthless versus someone who takes immediate action to minimize damage. Who is more suitable to be the future head of the family? The answer was obvious. Julianne turned to Leo. Is your family full of this kind of backstabbing? Doesn't seem like it, Leo shrugged. My grandpa only had my dad. That's good. A cold wind blew past, and Julianne shivered. The scheming in these big families is terrifying. Haha, Leo chuckled. He unzipped his jacket and pulled Julianne into his arms. You're not wearing enough. It's cold tonight. The choir competition ended, and I rushed right over with Damien and Serafina, she said. I didn't have time to change. She was right. Under their coats, Damien and Serafina were also still wearing the t-shirts from the competition. When they arrived at the hospital, Talia had already been moved from the ER to a regular room. Nico's kicks had caused some minor internal bleeding in her abdomen and chest, but thanks to the prompt medical attention, she was out of danger. In front of the hospital bed, Marcus Sterling put on another performance of the strict father disciplining his son. He then gave Talia's parents a generous compensation package and finally made his son promise in front of the dean and school officials that he would stop causing trouble. As for the unlucky crony who'd been on the receiving end of Leo's kick, Marcus naturally covered his medical bills as well. They couldn't very well have the peacemaker pay for it, and even if Leo wanted to, Donovan Sterling would never have allowed it. With that, the night's incident was officially closed. Whether Nico would actually stop bullying people, Leo didn't know. But he did know that what happened tonight had left Talia with deep psychological scars. She huddled on the hospital bed, looking at everyone with fear in her eyes. Marcus couldn't care less about the girl's trauma. He'd paid the money the parents had agreed to settle, and that was that. He dragged Nico out of the hospital. In the car, Marcus pointed at his son and let loose a string of curses, slapping him several more times for good measure. You listen to me, Marcus warned, his face a mask of fury. You keep your head down. Until Damien and that Rose girl get married, I still have a chance to turn things around. If you pull another stunt like tonight, I will strangle you with my own 2 hands. From the murderous look on his face, it didn't sound like an idle threat. MMPH, Nico grunted weakly. His gaze was vacant, his body limp like a marionette with its strings cut. He sat awkwardly, the bandages wrapped around his torso constricting his movement. He'd been patched up at the hospital, but the physical injuries were the least of his worries. The psychological blows dealt by Leo and Damien were far more severe. Seeing Talia's pitiful state, Julianne walked over, her voice gentle. Talia, would you be willing to talk with me for a little bit, just us? There was a magnetic quality to Julianne's voice that made Talia nod her head without hesitation. With permission granted, Julianne shooed everyone else out of the room to counsel Talia in private. Was what I did wrong from the start? Talia asked. No, you were right, Julianne said, gently stroking her hair. You just shouldn't have used this method. There's no such thing as absolute fairness or justice in this world. When you try to fight for fairness before you can even protect yourself, you just become a joke to people with power. For the next 10 minutes, Julianne opened up, sharing pieces of her own story, a condensed tale of resilience and strength that resonated with the terrified girl in the bed. You shouldn't feel sad about what happened today, because at least the ending was a good one. And you have a brother who loves you, who would hold up the sky for you if it fell, if you keep living in this shadow. Finally, Julianne asked, So, are you feeling any better now? Thank you, Julianne, Talia whispered, managing a faint smile. After their talk, Julianne opened the door. Leo glanced at Talia on the bed. The color had returned to her cheeks. Julianne had only been in there for less than 10 minutes. Had she really managed to comfort her that quickly? Was she some kind of magician? Seeing Talia's improved spirits, Tyler and his parents thanked Julianne profusely. Leo couldn't help but ask her, Did you use some kind of magic spell on her? What are you talking about? Julianne poked him on the forehead. You've been playing too many video games. If it wasn't a magic spell, then how did you undo all that psychological damage in less than 10 minutes? It had to be magic. Julianne pointed to her mouth. Because I'm good with this. How good? Let me see. Leo puckered his lips to kiss her, but was pushed away. We're right outside a hospital room. Stop fooling around, she said, her face turning red. Leo nodded. Fine. In the car later, then. Get lost. No kisses for you, Julianne said haughtily. Leo slung his arm over her small shoulders. You're my girlfriend. What's wrong with me wanting a kiss? Oh, so now you're starting to talk like me. Julianne playfully slapped his shoulder. Just then, Tyler, you walked out of the room. He said to Leo, Mr. Miller, thank you for your help. If it weren't for you tonight, things wouldn't have been resolved so easily. I owe you a huge favor. If you ever need me in the future, I'd go through hell or high water for you. Tyler's form of address had shifted to the more formal Mr. Miller, a change that reflected a deep, heartfelt respect. Who in Ethelberg didn't know about the Sterling family? He knew that without Leo, he would have been dead for offending Nico. The smooth resolution was undoubtedly thanks to Leo. After all, he was the one who had called Damien. Leo waved it off. It was nothing, don't mention it. No, to me, it's not nothing. Tyler said seriously. You saved my sister's life, which means you saved mine. Tyler, you owe you my life. Tyler's words hit Leo like a lightning bolt. He remembered. He remembered Talia's original plotline. In the book, after Talia was bullied by Nico, Tyler had arrived at the school much later, without Leo's help. After taking Talia to the hospital, he went to confront Nico the next day and was brutally beaten by him and his friends. The school administration, too afraid to offend the Sterlings, just paid a small compensation and swept the incident under the rug. After Talia was discharged, she returned to school only to face continued torment from Nico's crew. In the end, she developed severe depression and jumped from the roof of the school building, ending her life. Talia had been a minor character in the book, mentioned only in passing through Tyler's memories. Her entire purpose had been to trigger Tyler's dark transformation. Tyler himself only appeared in the middle and later stages of the story. With his sister dead and his parents fired from their jobs by Marcus Sterling's influence, a desperate Tyler wanted only one thing: to kill Marcus and Nico. The original Julianne had manipulated his desire for revenge, tricking him into a mutual destruction plot with the father and son. After Tyler took them out, the villainous Julianne and her partner, Ethan Cole, successfully acquired the Sterling shares, bringing their conflict with Damien's family out into the open. After that, Leo couldn't remember the rest of the plot clearly, but he knew for a fact that Julianne and Ethan had failed. In his novel, the villainess could never win. Besides, that was all mid to late game plot. He had already changed so much at the beginning. The Julianne standing beside him was no longer a villain. From now on, Tyler's story would surely be a better one. Julianne nudged him. Why are you zoning out again? Leo's reply was a play on words. I was just thinking, how did my girlfriend get cuter and cuter? Well, of course. Julianne put her hands on her hips, puffed out her chest, and said proudly, because I'm your girlfriend. Not even a little bit humble, are you? Between us, what's there to be humble about? Wait, so our class got first place tonight. After everything was settled, Leo, Julianne, Damien, and Serafina headed back to campus. They were grabbing snacks at the university concourse, chatting as they walked. We did, Serafina said, a bright smile lighting up her face as the conversation shifted to the competition. It seemed like the audience really loved our song. We got the highest number of votes in the popular vote. That's great, Leo nodded, then glanced at Damien, who was currently preoccupied with a chicken foot. Damien immediately chimed in to Serafina. That just goes to show how amazing you are, Fina. Oh, stop, I'm not that amazing. Serafina shook her head, a blush creeping up her cheeks. Julianne watched the two of them, then shot a look at Leo. Her eyes seemed to ask, did you teach him that shameless ass-kissing technique? Leo immediately shook his head, denying any involvement. Julianne saw his denial and smirked. Seeing her smile, for some reason, made Leo smile too. Serafina caught their little silent exchange. Ooh, you two are so sweet, she teased. You've got one too, you know, Julian shot back, nodding toward Damien. What? Are you jealous of me? Ha, Serafina laughed, amused by Julianne's retort. After finishing their late-night snack, the four of them walked out of the dining hall together. Damien and Serafina walked ahead, with Leo and Julian trailing behind, all heading towards the women's dorms. The late autumn night was cold. A gust of wind sent a shiver through the group. Serafina was still wearing the formal dress she'd worn to sing her solo, which looked thick but was actually quite thin. Seeing her shiver, Damien immediately took off his large black overcoat, which he'd grabbed from his car, and draped it over her shoulders. Under the lamplight, the tall, handsome young man placing a coat over the beautiful girl in her elegant dress was a perfect picture. A radiant smile bloomed on her wind-chilled face. Thank you, she murmured softly. What's to thank? Damien said, putting a gentlemanly arm around her shoulder. I'm your boyfriend. This is what I'm supposed to do. Behind them, Julianne watched the scene and sighed wistfully. They look like the main characters of a romance drama. So do we, Leo declared confidently. The moment they had stepped out of the dining hall, he had unzipped his jacket and pulled Julianne into it with him. The only problem was that his jacket was a bit short, so with Julianne huddled inside, the two of them looked slightly ridiculous. Like hell we do. Julian glanced down at Leo's jacket and said, trying to stifle a laugh. What kind of TV show hero uses a short bomber jacket to keep the girl warm? We look so silly right now. Eh, who cares? Leo said with a grin. As long as you're warm. You big dummy. Julian laughed, giving him a light punch on the chest. Who says I'm a dummy? Leo looked down at Julianne nestled against him. Damien can only put his arm around Serafina over her coat. This way, I can hold you directly. I'd say that makes me pretty smart, thanks. Oh, so this was deliberate. Well, if you don't like it, you can get out from under my jacket. I don't mind. No way. Julianne wrapped her arms around Leo's waist. It was much warmer this way. I feel like you're taking advantage of me. I am not, Julianne said, then sneakily slid her ice-cold hands under Leo's shirt. Haha, stop it, your hands are freezing. Don't touch my stomach. If I get an upset stomach, it's your fault. After walking Julianne to her dorm, neither of them seemed willing to part. They stood at the entrance, talking. Julianne remembered the events of the afternoon. Lily, do you think my mom will be safe living at home alone? At the mention of this, Leo's expression turned serious. I told you this afternoon, I can move you and your mom to a new place. You were the one who said no. Even if I agreed, my mom never would. You saw her this afternoon. She insisted on writing you an IOU for the money to replace the door and paint the wall. Do you really think she'd agree to move? Leo nodded, acknowledging her point. He had the money to buy a house, no problem. But if she wouldn't accept it, what could he do? Besides, as long as the gambling debt wasn't settled, those thugs would never give up. The most important thing now was to investigate that place called the Seventh Heaven Lounge. Leo patted Julianne's hand. Don't worry. If the sky falls, I'll be here to protect you. Julianne wrapped her arms around his waist, burying her face in his chest. Ever since I got together with you, she mumbled, I feel like I'm getting dumber. That just means I'm taking good care of you, Leo laughed. What if I become an idiot? If you become an idiot, I'll just have to trick you into coming home with me and spoil you forever. Oh, get out of here. Julian playfully slapped his back. I have no class tomorrow morning. I think I'll go home and stay with my mom tomorrow night. Okay, after the victory party tomorrow, I'll drive you. Julian nodded. Leo stroked her head. You should go get some rest. You too. Get to bed early. Good night, Lily. Julian waved and turned to leave, but Leo grabbed her arm. What is it? You're not even going to give me a kiss before you go? Leo asked, pointing to his cheek. Moi. Julian planted a kiss directly on his lips, and while she was at it, she gave his waist a sharp pinch, like a shameless hussy. No, wait. She was won. By now, having taken what she wanted, she waved again and dashed into the dormitory. Leo rubbed the spot on his waist where she'd pinched him, watching her retreating back with a mixture of amusement and exasperation. Miller, let's go. Damien called out, waving to him. Damien and Serafina had only said a few sweet nothings before she went inside. The rest of the time, Damien had been waiting by the road for Leo. He'd watched the entire drawn-out goodbye, including the demand for a kiss. He was practically green with envy and deeply regretted not asking Serafina for a kiss himself. He promptly made a note of it in his phone's memo app. Back in his dorm, Leo sent a message to his family's butler, asking how the investigation into the Seventh Heaven Lounge was going. Lying in bed, Leo waited for a while, but got no reply from the butler. He closed the chat window and opened his class group chat. He typed out a long message, praising his classmates for their amazing performance in winning first place and announcing that he was making good on his promise to host a victory party for them tomorrow night at the Student Activity Center. The moment he sent the message, the group chat exploded with activity. Leo exited the chat, about to message Julianne when his phone buzzed. It wasn't from her. It was from his butler. Butler, young master, my apologies. I was just assisting your grandfather with something. Butler, regarding the matter you asked me to investigate, I haven't found much useful information yet. Please give me a little more time. Leo, okay, just wanted to check on the progress. Don't stress about it. Butler, rest assured, young master, I am working on it diligently. After messaging the butler, Leo tapped on Julianne's profile picture. Just then, a message from her popped up. Jules, Lily, what do you do when you have writer's block? Leo, why are you stuck? Jules, I don't know. A lot of reasons, I guess. Jules, I was already in a bad mood because of what happened this afternoon, and then I opened my author dashboard and saw a reader complaining that my writing is bad. Now I'm wondering if I should change the plot. Leo, don't pay too much attention to the negative comments. Your opening is solid, and the latest chapters are good. Just keep writing normally. Jules, really? Jules, before, when I was writing alone and no one was reading, I didn't feel anything. But recently, after seeing some bad reviews, I look back at my older chapters and feel like they really are crap. Leo, you only have a few bad reviews. The vast majority are positive. What's there to be upset about? Leo almost typed out. When I first started writing, I wrote nothing but trash plots and tropes the readers hated. My comment section was a war zone. Being criticized was nothing. The time he wrote a tragic twist because he was in a bad mood, he almost got jumped by readers waiting outside his apartment. But he didn't send that. Instead, Leo thought for a moment and replied, "Constructive criticism is worth reading. If you made a mistake, fix it, but ignore the hate comments. Just write according to your own ideas. If you're not in the mood, take a night off and come back when you're feeling better. Jules, it's okay. This little setback won't defeat me." Leo, finish writing and get to bed early. Don't stay up too late. Jules, I know, Jules. You're starting to sound like my mom. No. Leo, get lost. Leo, I'm done with you. Go and sleep. After chatting with Julianne, Leo opened the StoryForge app and meticulously searched through her novel's comment section for negative reviews. When he found one, he didn't argue. He just reported it. He found 4 or 5 after searching for a while. It was clear that the bad reviews weren't the real reason for her mood tonight. It had to be the debt collectors. The next morning, Leo woke up at 6 as usual and went for a run. Julianne wasn't there to join him. He figured she must have stayed up late to meet her writing deadline and couldn't wake up. He was nearly finished with his run when a message from her came in. "Jules, did you go for a run today?" "Leo, just finished. About to get breakfast. Want me to bring you something?" "Jules, you bring me breakfast?" "Oh, I couldn't possibly impose." "Leo, if you feel that bad about it, I won't. That way you won't have to feel bad." Jules. Okay, fine, I was just being polite. Are you really not going to bring me anything?" "Leo, what do you want?" "Jules, I want a big bowl of pho from the cafeteria, first floor. And remember to add lots of chili." "Leo, eating spicy food first thing in the morning? You're going to burn your mouth off." "Jules, it's fine, I'm not scared." "Jules, thank you, Lily. You're the best." "Leo, get up, you lazy pig." "Jules, you're the pig." After finishing his stretches, Leo put on his jacket and headed to the cafeteria. It was freezing outside, but inside the dining hall, the heat was cranked up, making it comfortably warm. USC really had money to burn, keeping the cafeteria this toasty. He remembered back in his college days. The plastic chairs in the cafeteria were so cold in the winter they'd freeze your butt off, and in the summer, they were too cheap to turn on the AC. You'd be drenched in sweat by the time you finished a meal. Leo ordered a bowl of pho for himself, and after eating, he got another one to go for Julianne, this time adding an extra $20 worth of beef and a ridiculous amount of chili. The takeout container was packed to the brim with beef and peppers, looking incredibly substantial. As he stepped out of the cafeteria, an icy wind hit him, making him shiver. He sent a message to Julianne, telling her to bundle up when she came down to get her breakfast because it was freezing today. She replied with an okay. When Leo arrived at the girls' dorm, he saw a big blue Muppet standing alone at the entrance. Her neck hunched as she stared down at her phone. Julianne's winter pajamas were all fluffy and incredibly thick. With the hood up, she looked exactly like a giant plush toy. Leo reached out and ruffled her fluffy hood twice. Julianne, who had been engrossed in her phone, whipped her head around. "Lily, good morning," she chirped happily, then threw herself into his arms. All right. Leo patted her shoulder with his free hand. "Settle down, or the pho is going to spill." He handed her the takeout container. "Whoa!" Julianne looked at the bowl of pho, amazed. "How much extra beef did you get? Why is there so much?" "That's not beef. That's your young master's overflowing love for you. You got that, sis?" Leo said, then pinched her rosy cheek. Having just woken up, Julianne's cheeks were still flushed, and her sharp, beautiful eyes were hazy with sleep. "Was it you who reported those bad comments on my book last night? You figured that out?" Leo asked, surprised. Julianne smiled, a hint of melancholy in her eyes. "Who else would do that for me?" Leo gently caressed her face. "Isn't having me enough for you?" It's enough. Having you is all I need." "Love you," Julianne puckered her lips. "I'll reward you with a kiss." "No way. You definitely didn't brush your teeth this morning. Your breath probably stinks." "I'm not kissing you. That's a lie. My mouth is obviously fresh." "I don't believe you." "If you don't believe me, kiss me and see." "No, you have to." Julianne grabbed Leo's collar, pulled him forward, and stood on her tiptoes to give him a quick peck. Mwah! It was indeed fresh. When Leo walked into the classroom that morning, his classmates immediately swarmed him, all talking at once about the competition the night before. "President Leo, you have no idea. Our class was insane last night. The moment we started singing, the other classes were floored. We were so loud, it felt like we could have blown the roof off the auditorium." Our advisor was even praising us when we came off stage. President Miller, why weren't you there last night? He obviously had his own important things to do. We totally deserve that first place. The cacophony of voices left Leo unsure of who to respond to first. He just smiled and said to the crowd, I won't waste words. Tonight, everyone come to the Student Activity Center for the victory party. A chorus of all right erupted from the class. Julianne seized the opportunity to pull Leo out of the crowd, leading him towards the back of the room. They found a corner spot, and after they sat down, Julianne said, You're like the hero of a novel. Everywhere you go, people stop you to talk. Leo tossed his hair back, probably because I have the irresistible charisma system activated. So childish, Julianne said, slapping his shoulder. Not long after they sat down, Damien and Serafina walked in and took the seats in front of them. Serafina started chatting with Julianne, while Damien kept his head down, engrossed in his phone. What's he doing? Leo asked Serafina, ignoring his own girlfriend. I don't know. Serafina shook her head. I think he's texting his dad. He's been at it the whole way here, hasn't stopped once. It must be about what happened last night, Julianne said. Speaking of which, is Nico even going back to school? Hearing their discussion, Damien spoke up without looking from his phone. He'll have to go back to school, but he definitely won't dare to bully anyone anymore. I wouldn't be so sure, Julianne said, raising an eyebrow and pouting. He only behaved last night because his dad was there. His dad can't guard him at Ethelberg Prep every day, can he? She paused, then continued. And there's no one at that school with a more powerful family than his. Once this blows over, he'll be back to his old ways. Damien shook his head. Right now, we're not afraid of him going wild. We're afraid he won't go wild. Ooh, Julianne said a long, knowing sound. She seemed to understand exactly what Damien meant, but Leo and Serafina were still lost. What are you and G about? Leo asked her. Julianne didn't explain, just shot him a mischievous grin. Stop smiling like that. It's creepy, Leo said, exasperated. What does it mean? To make someone perish, you must first let them run mad, Julianne said. Yeah, that's the idea, Damien nodded. After our dinner the other night, my uncle was already getting restless. After what happened last night, he's definitely going to be paranoid that my dad will make a move against him. Now, it's a waiting game to see who loses their nerve first. If Marcus Sterling did nothing, he would have no leverage to hold on to his 10% stake when Damien got engaged. But if he dared to make any move, Donovan Sterling would surely seize the opportunity. Marcus was in a tough spot, and it was all because of the mess Nico had made. If Nico caused any more trouble now, Donovan would have the perfect excuse to clean house. After hearing Damien's explanation, Leo nodded. So that's what you've been talking to your dad about all morning? Yeah, Damien confirmed. Julianne rested her chin on her hand. This is a pretty important matter. Are you sure you should be telling us all this in a classroom? What's there to be afraid of? Damien smiled confidently. The four of us are a solid team. What can we talk about? Besides, it's not exactly a secret. My uncle is a smart man. He knows what my dad is thinking. Now it's just a matter of seeing what tricks he tries to pull. Serafina, who had been quiet, rubbed her temples. They're brothers, but they're plotting against each other over an inheritance. It's so sad. Damien shrugged. If my uncle had been content to be second in command, my dad wouldn't have gone after him. But he's got ulterior motives. You all saw it at dinner the other night. Since he wants to start something, there's no need for us to hold back. Serafina nodded. Leo frowned, a little confused. Isn't the Rose family a big deal too? Don't you guys have scheming and backstabbing? Serafina thought for a moment. Not really. I feel like our family is pretty harmonious. That's because your grandfather is still alive, Damien sighed. When my grandfather was alive, the relationship between my dad and my uncle wasn't this tense. He paused. But then again, my grandfather's arrangements were a bit unfair. He shouldn't have transferred that 20% of the shares to my name. That 20% is what completely fractured the relationship between our two families. Hearing this, Leo felt a pang of awkwardness. Maybe your grandfather had his reasons. He couldn't very well tell Damien that the real reason was because he, the author, hadn't bothered to think through the details of the plot, leading to this strange setup. Damien actually nodded at Leo's words. You're right, Miller. My grandfather was a brilliant man. His vision was definitely more far-sighted than mine. Anyway, let's not talk about this. He waved his hand dismissively and changed the subject. So, Miller, what are you feeding everyone tonight? At the mention of food, Julianne and Serafina's interest was piqued. All three of them looked at Leo. Well, Leo began, I was originally thinking of getting a few hot pot tables, but that seemed like a lot of trouble. So instead, I ordered 10 giant custom pizzas from a pizza place. The three of them asked in unison, "How big?" "About." Leo thought for a moment. "Probably 40 or 50 inches. I don't know. They said it's huge, assembled from pieces. One is enough to feed 7 or 8 people. I was afraid it wouldn't be enough for the whole class, so I ordered 10. Damien's eyes went wide. "Holy crap, 10 giant pizzas." "Yep, I had them make a little bit of every flavor they have." Julianne licked her lips. "You're making me hungry already." After the last class of the afternoon, Leo led his classmates directly to the Student Activity Center for the party. The 10 extra-large pizzas were even bigger than Leo had imagined. All the tables on the 4th floor of the SAC, pushed together, were barely enough to hold the pizzas alone. The drinks and other snacks had to be placed on chairs and on the floor. In addition to pizza, Leo had also bought dumplings and roast duck to accommodate students who weren't fans of Western fast food. With the chairs also covered in food, many of the guys voluntarily gave up their seats for the girls, standing to eat instead. Dozens of people crowded the newly renovated common area on the 4th floor, eating and chatting. It had the lively, communal feel of a big family feast. Worried there wouldn't be enough food, Leo had even called over everyone from the student government who was free, making the scene incredibly vibrant. Julianne and Leo stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows. She was eating a slice of barbecue chicken pizza while he gnawed on a roast duck leg, both of them observing the bustling scene. "I never expected a party thrown by the great young Master Miller to be so down-to-earth," Julianne commented. Leo smiled. "Why do you say that?" "Well, I always imagined that when a rich young master throws a party, it's in some top-tier, multi-billion-dollar restaurant. You know, booking an entire floor, a sleek PowerPoint presentation on a seamless big screen, a few perfunctory speeches, popping a bottle of champagne." "Stop, stop, stop," Leo said, half laughing. "It's just a school choir competition win. There's no need to make it as grand as a wedding, is there? Besides, isn't this better? It's like a real party. Everyone eats what they like, talks about what they want, and just has a good time. It's way more interesting than one of those boring, formal speeches where the food gets cold by the time you eat." Julian nodded. "That's true, right?" "Right." Leo puffed out his chest proudly, looking like he was waiting for praise. After all this time together, Julianne had discovered that for all his maturity, Leo was still like a kid at heart, always coming up with imaginative and unconventional ideas. It was true for the film festival at the SAC, and it was true for today's party. He really was special. A beautiful smile spread across Julianne's face. Yes, yes, our Lily's victory party is the best in the world." Well, naturally, hearing Julianne's praise, Leo couldn't suppress his grin. It practically reached his ears. "Are you only eating the roast duck? Don't you want some pizza?" Julianne asked. "I'll eat it if you feed me." "In your dreams. Go eat dirt." Julianne stuffed the rest of her pizza into her mouth and walked towards the main hall. Leo pointed after her. "Wow, how can you be so cruel? You're my girlfriend, and you won't even feed me a piece of pizza?" "Of course not," Julianne called back. But just as she reached the food tables, she suddenly turned around. "What flavor do you want?" Leo's face lit up. "As long as you're the one feeding me, I'll love any flavor." His words were heard by everyone nearby, and a wave of whistles and good-natured heckling filled the room. Amid the teasing, Julianne grabbed a slice of Meat Lover's pizza and, with a blush on her face, fed it to Leo, a very public display of their affection. As Leo ate the pizza, he looked at Julianne's shy expression and teased. "You're not this shy when you're groping me like a pervert, are you?" Julianne's face turned beet red. "Can't even a mouthful of food shut you up?" she grumbled. Leo grinned. Damien, who was in the middle of inhaling a slice of pizza, saw this, immediately wiped his hands with a napkin, pulled out his phone, opened his memo app, and recorded the sweet interaction. The poor guy had been with Serafina for a while now, but was still clueless about romance. So, he had taken to using Leo as his role model. Because Julianne was going home to stay with her mother that night, she and Leo didn't stay at the party for too long. After they had eaten their fill, Leo told Damien and Serafina to keep an eye on things, and then he drove Julianne home. When he dropped her off, Clara Hale insisted he come in for a bit. "Leo, thank you so much for the trouble, driving all this way so late at night." "It's no trouble, Mrs. Hale." Leo waved his hand. "It's only a 15-minute drive. I couldn't let her come back by herself this late. It's almost 10 o'clock now, it's getting late. I'd worry about you driving back alone. Why don't you?" Clara looked at Leo. "You can just stay the night in Jules's room. She can sleep with me." "Ah." Leo waved his hands frantically. No, I couldn't possibly. That's not right. I'll just go back to my dorm." "What's not right about it?" Clara insisted. "It's fine. You listen to me. Stay here tonight and leave in the morning. Hey, that's a good point. Julianne chimed in. If you stay here tonight, you won't have to come pick me up early in the morning. We can go to school together. I probably shouldn't. Leo shook his head. I'm a bit picky about beds. In a strange place, I usually have trouble. Before Leo could finish, his phone vibrated. He glanced down and saw, to his surprise, a message from Julianne. Curious, he opened the chat. Jules, you sleep in my room. Once my mom's asleep, I'll sneak in to find you. She didn't finish the sentence, instead typing a series of suggestive ellipses. Leo looked up at Julianne. She was standing behind her mother, giving him a sultry wink. He had a feeling this was a trap. But what man could possibly resist this kind of trap? So, Leo immediately changed his tune. Mrs. Hale, since you've insisted, I guess. I'll impose on you for one night. If Julianne had used this tactic earlier, Leo wouldn't have even needed an invitation. He would have just refused to leave. Oh, Leo's sudden switch caught Clara off guard. She paused for a second before nodding. Good. It's no trouble. You can stay in Jules's room. I just changed the sheets and quilt cover last night. Thank you, Mrs. Hale. After a quick wash-up in the bathroom, Leo entered Julianne's room. It felt like forever since he was last here, which was technically the last time he was here. He chuckled at his own dumb joke. The room was exactly as he remembered it. Nothing had changed, probably because Julianne hadn't been home much. He sat on the edge of the bed, and the frame groaned, a creak sound that was deeply familiar. It reminded him of his childhood when his family was struggling, sleeping on a similar bed. The three of them would be crammed together, him in the middle, and every time someone turned over, the bed would protest with that same sound. He looked around the small room, a sense of indescribable warmth washing over him. Maybe it was because it reminded him of his childhood home, of a past he could never return to. Leo climbed into bed, pulled the covers up, and took out his phone. He had a message from Julianne that he hadn't had a chance to read. Jules, the light switch is on the left as you enter. The lamp on the nightstand, you have to press it hard. Leo, got it. A moment after he replied, she messaged back. Jules, chatting with my mom. Jules, are you in bed already? Leo, yeah. Leo snuggled deep into the covers, pulling them up over half his face, his hand sticking out to text her. The quilt had a faint scent of white camellia, the same fragrance as the pillow. It smelled wonderful. It was her scent. Of course, this was her room. It made sense it would smell like her. Breathing in the fragrance, Leo couldn't help but yawn. He was getting sleepy. After scrolling through some videos, he yawned 2 or 3 more times, his eyelids growing heavy. He fell asleep without even turning off the bedside lamp. The thought of Julianne's promised visit completely forgotten. He didn't know how long he'd been asleep when a sudden chill on the back of his neck jolted him awake. He whipped his head around to see Julianne, dressed in her pajamas, standing by his bed with a mischievous grin. She had just placed her ice-cold hand on his neck. Phew! Leo let out a long breath. Are you crazy? You scare me to death in the middle of the night. I waited for my mom to fall asleep and snuck over here to find you. And you call me crazy? Julianne said, placing her cold little hand on his chest again. Hey, stop it. Leo shivered under the covers. Ha ha. Julianne laughed at his pained expression. Scoot over. What are you doing? I'm here to get warm. Julianne kicked off her slippers and dove into the bed, squeezing him to one side. As she climbed in, the bed frame let out another loud creak. Hey, you're so mean, Leo complained. I just got this spot warmed up, and you took it. So what? Can I? Julianne said, deliberately placing her hand on his warm stomach. How are you so hot? It's so warm. I should be asking you that. Leo looked at her. Why are your hands so cold? I just washed my hands with cold water in the bathroom. Question mark. Leo's eyes went wide. Oh, so you did it on purpose. Washing your hands after using the bathroom is normal. Don't you wash your hands? For guys in the winter, usually only if we pee on them. Ew, that's disgusting. Get away from me. Julianne tried to shuffle away, but Leo grabbed her arm. What are you doing? She asked. What am I doing? Leo mirrored her earlier, mischievous grin. You're the one who snuck into my bed in the middle of the night instead of sleeping. I'm a perfectly normal guy. You think I'm going to let you get away? Get over here. Leo pulled Julianne close, wrapping her tightly in his arms. His warmth instantly enveloped her. Hey, stop it. Leo, my mom's in the next room. I don't care if the Queen of England is in the next room, Leo said, then captured her lips in a series of kisses, his hands starting to wander. Don't mess around. Julianne's face flushed as she stared at him, her hands lightly tapping his chest. She'd been so bold, thinking Leo wouldn't dare to try anything in her house. It seemed she had miscalculated. She never expected the usually cautious Leo to be so daring. Seeing her shy expression, Leo felt even more turned on. "You don't look like this when you're teasing me, do you?" he smirked. "Well, that's because, during the day, I know you wouldn't dare do anything to me," she stammered, her face bright red. "Oh, so you behave at night, is that it?" Leo pinched her cheek. "Well, you may be behaving, but I'm not." He kissed her cheek again. Julianne bit her lip and let out a soft whimper. Are you for real?" Leo was both amused and exasperated. "What, you thought I was faking? Then, be gentle. I'm scared." Her shy demeanor was a complete 180 from her usual self. For a moment, Leo almost felt too guilty to touch her. "Just kidding." Hearing her words, he was ready to pounce. Clang! Just as the battle was about to commence, a strange noise from outside the door nearly gave little Leo a heart attack. Julianne immediately pushed Leo away and sat bolt upright in bed. "Is your mom not asleep yet?" Leo whispered frantically. I don't know." Julianne shook her head in a panic. "She was definitely asleep when I left the room." Leo frowned. "Then what was that sound?" "I think." Julianne took a deep breath. "It didn't come from inside the house. Could it be a stray cat?" Leo asked. "Maybe. Well, whatever. Let's continue," Leo said, about to pull the covers back over them, but thump, thump, thump. Footsteps suddenly sounded from outside, completely shattering the amorous atmosphere. Leo and Julianne sat up again. "Does this house have any soundproofing at all?" Leo whispered. Julianne shrugged helplessly. "The walls in the projects are thin. The soundproofing is terrible. If you yell on the first floor at night, the top floor can hear." MMPH. Before Julianne could finish, Leo clamped a hand over her mouth. She looked at him, confused. Leo put a finger to his lips in a hushed gesture. In the next second, they both heard a rustling sound from outside. "Idiot. Can't you be quiet with that stuff?" "Bro, this thing is heavy." "Is this the right door?" "It looks different. They probably repainted it." "The door's new too." "Security, obviously. After you painted it last time, I thought I just heard a woman's voice." "Dude, you're just horny. Where would you hear a woman at this time of night?" Two men were talking outside. Their voices were low, but from their spot by the window, Leo and Julianne could hear them clearly enough. After listening to their conversation, they were certain that one of these guys was the same one who had thrown red paint on Julianne's door before. They decided against a direct confrontation. Leo typed a few words on his phone and showed it to Julianne. "You keep an eye on them. I'm going to the bathroom to call 911. Julianne's room was right by the hallway, but the bathroom was the farthest room from the front door. Calling the police from there was less likely to alert the two men. Julianne read the message and nodded. Leo, barefoot, tiptoed out of the room and into the bathroom. After making the call, he crept to the front door, listening intently to the noises outside through the new security door. The men had stopped talking. There was only a faint rustling sound, which he guessed was the sound of them painting the wall. Within a minute, the pungent smell of cheap paint began to seep through the door. When Leo didn't return, Julianne also slipped out of her room, barefoot. Seeing him eavesdropping by the front door, she made a few hand gestures. Leo didn't understand, so she crooked a finger at him. He immediately went over. Julianne typed on her phone. "I think they're almost done. How long until the cops get here?" Leo frowned and typed back. "They're done already." Julianne nodded and continued typing. "That's what they said. Almost done." Click. As they were texting, the sound of a lighter flicking came from outside. One of the men hissed, "Idiot. What are you doing smoking right now? The light will give us away." The other one sounded apologetic. "Sorry, just needed a fix. Put it out. Quick. Okay. The man mumbled. A flash of memory shot through Leo's mind. In the original plot, Julianne's house had burned down in the winter. The fire nearly killed her mother, who ended up hospitalized for a long time. After that, a desperate Julianne had been forced to borrow money from Damien again to pay the medical bills and had moved with her mother to a cheap rental in a distant suburb for the winter. And that fire had been started because the debt collectors had carelessly tossed an unextinguished cigarette but into the flammable paint. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. Leo's pupils contracted. He couldn't wait any longer. He yanked open the front door. The two masked men standing outside froze, completely stunned by the sudden appearance of the door swinging open. It wasn't just them. Julianne was caught off guard too. She never expected Leo to just charge the door. One of the men had already pulled his mask down to his chin. He was holding a lit cigarette, and he was standing right next to the open can of paint. This was him. This was the one who had burned down Julianne's house. Leo's eyes flashed with fury. He lunged at the man, shoving him hard to the ground. Leo wanted to follow up with a few kicks, but he remembered he wasn't wearing shoes and had to abandon the thought. The other man snapped out of his shock when he saw his partner go down. He turned to run, but Leo grabbed his arm and twisted it behind his back. The man fumbled in his jacket pocket and pulled out a butterfly knife, lunging at Leo's vitals. Leo hadn't expected a knife. He didn't have time to dodge. Just as the blade was about to connect, Julianne rushed out from the house, wielding a broom handle like a club, and brought it down hard on the man's arm. "Art!" The man screamed in pain, a cry so loud it jolted the old, broken voice-activated light in the hallway back to life. Leo seized the opportunity and delivered a swift, vicious kick to the man's groin, completely neutralizing him. The man Leo had pushed down scrambled to his feet to escape, but in his panic he kicked over the paint can. The sight terrified Leo. He looked at the still glowing cigarette, but on the ground, rushed over, and pinched it between his fingers, grinding it into the concrete until it was completely extinguished. Why not use his foot? Because he was barefoot. Leo didn't let the other guy get away either. He grabbed the paint can and smashed it over the man's head. Cheap red paint splattered across his face, and the intense burning sensation made him forget all about escaping. He clutched his face and screamed. By now, Clara Hale had heard the commotion and came out of her room. It wasn't just her. Lights flicked on in neighboring apartments, and people peeked out their windows. Clara, pulling a robe over her shoulders, came out and asked, "What happened?" Julianne pointed at the two men writhing on the ground, subdued by Leo. "These two were trying to paint our door again. Luckily, Leo and I caught them." Clara looked at the two men on the ground, her heart still pounding with fear. "It's a good thing you two were home tonight. If I had been alone, I don't know what I would have done." Some of the neighbors came out of their apartments, and, after learning what had happened, they didn't hold back, landing a few kicks of their own on the two thugs. The police arrived quickly and took the two troublemakers away. As for the front door, now a mess of red paint, that would have to wait until morning. The three of them went back inside, locked the door, and sat down in the living room. "Why did you suddenly rush out like that?" Julianne asked, her curiosity piqued. "If I hadn't gone out when I did, they would have gotten away," Leo said, fudging the truth. Before Julianne could press further, he turned to Clara. "Mrs. Hale, it's not safe to live here. A relative of mine owns a hotel. Why don't you stay there for a few days? Once I've completely sorted this out, you can come back." Clara shook her head. "No, please, don't go to such trouble. My factory has free employee dorms. I could just apply for a bed there." "Well, that works too." Seeing that she was unwilling, Leo didn't push it, but he emphasized, "But please, don't stay here alone for the next few days." "Yes, I know," Clara nodded. After a brief chat, Clara was about to take Julianne back to her room to sleep. Julianne, still barefoot, said sheepishly, "I'll go put on my shoes." She darted into Leo's room. Clara looked confused. "Why are your shoes in Leo's room?" Julianne's face turned beet red. He heard the bad guys first, and then he texted me to come to his room." Right. Leo, his own face flushing, quickly agreed, his head bobbing up and down.